Hello and welcome to the PHP crash course for absolute beginners. I am super hyped about this course. I think we'll talk a lot about it. By the end of this course, there's a whole lot you learn about PHP. I love PHP because PHP is sort of like my first real language that I learned. So let's say it's my first love, and I have some bias towards it. But then that aside, I believe that PHP is a very good beginner friendly programming language that you can pick up, right? Especially if you are, serious about getting into backend development, then PHP, you cannot go wrong with PHP. It's a very popular language. It's been there for such a long time. Support and everything is immense. All right. Yeah, developers these days have this love and hatred relationship for PHP and all, but then it's just like any other tool out there, right? If it works for you, it works for you, right? But like I said, I believe this language is going to be an amazing language, and as we go along in the course, you definitely understand why it's so. Okay, so without wasting more time, let's just quickly get into it. So, who is this course for? All right. So, like I said, if you are just getting started with backend development, then this course is for you because I'll just give a general overview of what backend development is. What it's about, right? How it's different from front end development. Okay, just make the basic distinctions here and there, right? And then if you are interested in familiarizing yourself with PHP, probably other backend languages like Python or C# or whatever it is, but then you just really want to get up to speed with PHP, and this course is also for you. All right. So the objectives for this course, right? So like I said, I'll discuss with you some overview of backend development. I'll show you how you can set up your PHP environment to XAMPP. Okay, it's a very basic setup, very straightforward. I also talk to you about working with PHP. We'll talk about functions, comments, data types, cookies, file handling, form submission, all that stuff. All the key concepts that every PHP developer must know at the core. All right, so I'll take you through that as well. So it's going to be a very interesting journey. What you need for this course, you will need a basic understanding of HTML, right? Understanding of programming, right? If you have zero idea about this, we have lots of videos, getting you started with programming on the channel, getting you started with HTML on the channel. So if you don't have any knowledge about programming or HTML, please pause this video, go back to our channel, check out our videos on HTML and programming, study it, get acquainted with it, right? And then jump back here into this course, and I feel like it will really help you, right? I mean, you can to a point, to an extent, you probably be able to learn a few things here and there without knowing HTML, but then definitely you need to understand the idea behind programming, right? You also need a laptop with decent internet connectivity. I mean, like as a professional, right? As a professional backend developer or web developer, you need a decent laptop with internet connectivity, right? And lastly, a curious mind and willingness to learn, right? So what I teach you here is not the end. Okay, I'm going to introduce you, try to explain things to you in simple analogies for you to understand and get a grasp of. But definitely, you need to go the extra mile of reading more about it. Even watch other videos about the same concept. Okay, see how other developers approach it. Okay, read on Google about it. There are so many resources out there, right? And not just for PHP, for your entire development career, because it will do you a whole lot of good. All right, so these are the tools that we'll be using, right? So we'll be coding with Visual Studio Code, and then basically XAMPP, and then we'll get our browser, right? So I'm going to explain the whole concept behind XAMPP, show you how you can download it and install it, how to start it, and all that stuff, and then it should take just a few minutes for us to do that. So if you've been programming a while, you've probably come across Visual Studio Code, so that shouldn't be an issue. All right, yeah, it's just like any other editor, but any other IDE works, Notepad++, Sublime Text, all that stuff work, right? But Visual Studio Code is just my preference. Okay, all right. So before we move on, just a quick one. If you haven't subscribed to the channel, please pause this video and subscribe right now. Show us some love, show us your support, and hit on the notification bell so that anytime we drop a video, you'll be notified, right? So we try to drop a new video, each and every week. All right, new course videos and other amazing content. So please do want to subscribe if you already haven't done so. Thank you so much. So let's get into it. Okay, so before we jump into PHP, what PHP is exactly, let's just get an idea of what backend development is, right? So what is backend development? Basically, backend development is about writing code, right, that allows the front-end application to communicate with the database. So like the backend is sort of like the midpoint between the database and the front-end application, right? I mean, if you don't understand what a database is right now, don't worry about that. I'll give you a quick explanation of it and give you some analogy to make it easier for you to understand. All right. So backend development is usually about working with servers and cloud. You heard of AWS and all that stuff, developing APIs and stuff like that. That is backend development. And servers, in fact, servers are not anything scary, right? Servers are just like your computer. Your computer can be a server, right? Just that we call them servers because they are a bit more specialized. Okay, so when we say a server, it's like a specialized computer. Sometimes it has like it has specs just like your computer. Like it has memory, it has storage, it has an operating system, and all that stuff, right? But just that one of the key differences between a server and like your personal computer is the fact that for a server is meant to be available like all the time. Okay, so if you put your website on a server, right, it's supposed to be available all the time so that people can access your website, right? Definitely if it's on your computer can go off and stuff like that. Basically that is it, right? And there are so many back-end languages out there, not just PHP. So we have Go, we have Ruby, we have Python, we have Node.js, we have Java, we have C#. There's a whole lot of languages out there. But the fun part of it is that, typically as you advance in your programming career, okay, as you become more experienced, it gets easier to pick it up. Don't take these as like, I'm a PHP developer, I'm a Go developer, I'm a Ruby developer. No, don't have that mindset. Okay, at each point in time, you pick the tool that is necessary for the job. There are some applications that are best suited to be used for PHP. There are certain applications that Python will be better. There are some that Java. There are some that Node.js will be better. So, as an engineer, as a backend developer, right, it's your job to know, what works for which job that you are tasked to do. Okay, so let's go on and let me sort of further explain, further explain and make you understand what backend development is. Okay, so don't let this diagram scare you. Okay, this is a typical software architecture, right? There's so much architecture, different types of ideas, like 2-tier architecture, there's 3-tier architecture, but I'm not going to go deep into what these types of architecture, what they are, but then just get the idea over here, right? So in a typical software application, let's say a web app or a mobile app, WhatsApp, YouTube, whatever it is, right? Now the mobile app, the interface that you see, if it's like WhatsApp, the interface that you interact with, the emojis and all that stuff, is like the client. Okay, in web design, you usually design the client with HTML, CSS, JavaScript, and stuff like that, right? Maybe in Android, you do that with Java, Kotlin, stuff like in building a mobile app for the iOS store, you use like Swift and stuff like that. So that's the client side of things right here. Okay, and we have the backend server, which is what we are going to be tackling in this course, right? So the backend server is what you script with. So it's like a computer that the PHP is running on. Okay, just like the HTML and CSS, runs in the browser. PHP runs on the server, right? And then your database is where all your information is stored and stuff like that. Let me just use this analogy to see whether this can be easier for you, right? So take it like you went to the restaurant, okay, to order some food, right? Now in the restaurants, you enter the restaurant, they give you your menu, right? You have a waitress that sort of takes your order, and once they take your order, they take you to the kitchen, or they send it over to the kitchen for the kitchen to process the order. All right. So in this analogy, take it like the menu they give you is like the client's application. It has all the you go through it, you select what you want, right? And take it like the backend server is like the waitress, okay? So whatever order you give the waitress takes it. If there's any discussions or something they have to do with you, they sort of discuss with you, or if there's any adjustment they have to make, they sort of discuss with you for you to make the adjustment. Once you're okay with it, they take your order and then take it to the kitchen. So the kitchen has all the ingredients. It has the bags of rice and all that stuff to actually get you what you want, to process what you want. Okay, so the kitchen here is the back end, right? It's sort of like the waitress is the midpoint, the middle layer between you placing the order and then the kitchen, right? You can't just go to the restaurant and then decide to go to the kitchen directly. Okay, so in a software, the client just cannot get up and access the database like that. Okay, they have to go through the back end. All right, and that is where languages like PHP and Ruby and all that stuff come in. So in this course, you are not going to worry about what goes on in the kitchen. Okay, that's the database side of things. That will be for another course. All right, we are just going to focus on how information is moved from the client, that is you, the customer, and how information is transferred from you to the waitress. Okay, we are going to focus on just that part. So the client and the backend server. All right, and like I said, the backend server can be PHP, it can be Ruby, it can be Python. Okay, but in this course, you are going to be targeting PHP. So try to just get this idea in your head. If you have this analogy in your head and then you understand it, it's really easy to go ahead with it. Okay, so let's move on. So now that you get the basic idea of what backend development is, the backend server is, we can now talk about what PHP is, right? So what is PHP? So PHP stands for Hypertext Preprocessor. I've always wondered why it's not HPP, because Hypertext Preprocessor, like it's sort of like HPP. But anyways, that was just by the way. So Hypertext Preprocessor, that's the meaning of PHP. It's an open source scripting language, right? Meaning it's available for you to use. You don't need to download it. You don't need to sort of pay for it, or buy certain licenses for it, right? And PHP scripts are, like we said, are executed on a server, right? So you can't create a PHP file on just like anywhere on your computer, on your desktop, and then expect that it will run when you open it. Unlike HTML files, where anywhere on your like for HTML files, anywhere on your desktop you can create an HTML file and then launch it, because the browser is what is in charge for passing the file, right? But PHP, the file needs to be on a server, right? We're going to talk about how you can set up a server, create new PHP files and all that stuff. So let's go ahead. What's a PHP file? A PHP file can contain text, HTML, JavaScript, and PHP code, right? And PHP code, like I said, is executed on a server and the result is returned to the browser. Don't worry if this that isn't too clear for you, right? Just get the general idea. We'll definitely do a lot of practicals on it. And PHP files usually have an extension .php, just like HTML files are .html and JavaScript files are .js files. PHP files usually have the .php extension, right? So anytime you see the .php extension, it's a PHP file. What can PHP do? PHP can be used to generate dynamic page content. So let's say a blog, right? When you have a blog, the content on the blog is not always static. It's not the same. Depending on how people interact with it, or depending on you can delete blog items, and then that page will change, right? If you write a new blog, that page will change, right? Just like Facebook page, right? You never go to your Facebook feed and then see the same content over and over again, right? Because it's dynamic. It's what you see is based on what interactions other people have made with the platform. All right, that is what we call dynamic content. So PHP can be used that to an extent. You can use PHP to create, read, open, delete files on your server, right? Sometimes there are certain applications that you need to interact with files and stuff like that, and you get to understand, collect form data, right? If somebody is submitting a form on your website, let's say a sign up form, right? How do you collect that data and then store it in a database? Right, so when a person is coming the next time, the person can just log in, right? That is something you can use PHP for. So you can use PHP to collect that form data, right? Send and receive cookies. We'll talk about cookies more into detail, right? So there are times you visit a website and say allow cookies on the website, and all these kind of things you can use PHP to do. Cookies are used to sort of track certain information about your usage on a platform, right? And like we said, PHP can allow you to issue instructions to your database as well, right? So you can query your database, request for certain information from your database and all that stuff. So that is also possible. I mean, technically PHP doesn't do it directly, but PHP allows you to issue certain queries. So if it's MySQL, depending on database you are using, if it's MySQL, if it's Mongo, whatever it is, PHP can help you communicate with them, right? And then encrypt data. So like things like passwords and all that stuff, you can use PHP to encrypt them. And then also you can use PHP to control user access. So already I've seen that PHP can do a lot on the back end, most of the basic stuff, right? And even very advanced stuff with very recent versions of PHP, right? You can do a whole lot, control user access. So you have this application, maybe your application, there are administrators, there are users, you need to set certain privileges and all that, so people cannot access a certain portion of the platform and all. You can use PHP for that as well, right? So PHP is very versatile. It's a very huge language. There's so much to cover over there, so much to learn over there. These are the advantages of PHP and resistance. Every language comes with its advantages. It also comes with its disadvantages. Okay, so like I said, usually gauge what job you have to do, what project is at stake, right? And then to choose the right tool for it, right? Now PHP, like I said, is easy and simple to learn. It's very easy to pick up, right? It's extremely flexible. You can integrate PHP with so many servers. Like so many servers come with PHP capabilities. Like there are a whole lot of packages. It's very easy to get started with it. There's a whole lot of tools and all that stuff available for it. So getting started with this is very, very straightforward. Efficient performance, it's cost efficient. You don't have to pay for PHP to use it, right? It has a great community and support. So because PHP has been there for such a long time, there is almost no issue that is out there that you face that you cannot get support for it, right? You go online, you Google the issue, you definitely get someone to give you feedback on it, right? That is one of the very cool things about PHP. There are some modern languages that, because they are new, right, though they are great, finding support for it is really hard, right? And especially as a beginner, you need to use something that is a bit popular, okay? Because you definitely encounter challenges on your journey, right? So if you use something that is not really popular or used by lots of people, then you may find it hard to find solutions or get help when you need it. And PHP too comes with a lot of massive job opportunities. Like there's a whole lot of roles and vacancies, especially with most recent PHP frameworks like Laravel and all that stuff. So you cannot go wrong learning PHP. Okay, PHP has been there for a while, a long time, for years. People have always prophesized PHP's downfall, but here we are, and PHP is still going strong. Okay, so now that we are done with the theory part of things, it's time to get into it. It's time to get our hands dirty. So I'm going to show you how to set up your PHP environment, get your IDE ready, and then we'll just jump straight into the basic fundamental, the building blocks of PHP, and then we'll practice around with it. And this will definitely be a fun thing. Like, this is going to be a fun experience. Okay, so let's quickly get started with it. Okay, so like I mentioned, PHP runs on a server, and we need to set up our set up our server software, right? What we are going to use XAMPP, right? No, there are like multiple ways of setting up PHP and servers on your computer. Okay, so you can download and set up PHP as a standalone. Try and get the Apache server tool as a standalone. Apache is the server that we are going to use, the server software we are going to be using. There's Nginx and other types of server software, right? But Apache is the most popular. One of the most popular for PHP, especially when you're getting started with PHP, usually go that way, right? So instead of setting all this up separately, we are going to download XAMPP, XAMPP, right? Which sort of comes bundled with all these, the server software and stuff like that, so that we don't have to waste too much time doing everything separately. All right. So I'll just go to my browser and I'll search for XAMPP, right? So we can get it at www.apachefriends.org. So I go there, and there's a number of options, right? There's XAMPP for Windows, OS X, Linux. So depending on how you are studying this course, I'm doing this tutorial on a Windows device, right? But there are some few differences with the Windows installation and the Mac installation and the Linux installation. Okay, so it all depends, but I'm going to focus on the Windows operating system for this course, right? So this is XAMPP for Windows. You can just click on it. It comes with PHP 8.1.6, which is the most recent. Okay, so it pops up the window for you to download the software. Once you are done, you just install it just like any other application. All right, it's very straightforward. Just follow the prompts and install it. I have it already installed, so I cannot sort of like double install it, right? So just download it, install it, and then come back to the video, and then let's continue. Okay, so once you are done installing the XAMPP, right, you can just go to your start menu and then type XAMPP, right, and it will pop up here if you installed it correctly. So you click it to open it. I've already opened mine, so let's just go there, right? So once you open it, you see these modules here, depending on what you installed. I'm sure you installed Apache MySQL and all that stuff. So by default, these actions will be start. So what you want to do over here is to start Apache over here, all right, to start Apache. So once you click start, you see that the status has changed from stop to running, and it tells you the process ID and the ports and stuff that it's running on. I'm not going to go too deep into the XAMPP interface, right, since this is just an introductory course, but what this action does is to sort of start your server, right? So you need to sort of start the server so to make it ready to receive requests, from the browser and from the user, right? Once you stop it, even if your PHP file is there, it cannot identify it. Okay, so we need to start it. So once you're done starting it, all is well, you can just close it and then go back to your browser. To know that this is working, you just go to your browser and type localhost. Okay, so let's type localhost right here. Wow. So if it works, you get this welcome stuff. Welcome to XAMPP. You see the components that were installed: Apache, the MariaDB, the PHP, and then Perl. All right. So this is like the welcome page. For example, you type localhost. Right. Now, let me quickly explain what is happening here. Right. When you type localhost, right, we are internally redirecting the browser to pick a certain folder, a file on your in a folder on your computer. Right now, you can locate this file at so you go to my computer, that is this PC. You go to your main drive, then you go to this folder. You see this installation folder here, which is called XAMPP. So you open it, and then you see this folder called htdocs, right? So you open that, and in that folder you see index.php and stuff like. So this index.php is usually what is opened over here. All right, it has all details over there, and this is by default. This by default comes with the installation, right? And this shows you all the information that you see here. But now let's do something interesting. So let's click here, PHPinfo, right? So once you click PHPinfo, you see the details of your PHP installation, right? This is your system, the compiler, your system architecture, which is ST4. Over here, you see the PHP version you are currently running on. over here you see your Apache version that you're running on, and there's so much information over here about your PHP installation. Normally, as you go deeper and deeper into your development, there are times that you'd have to configure some specific settings, right? So I'm not going to bother you with these. Some of them I don't even know what they actually do, honestly, but definitely there's a whole lot to that you'll be modifying along the way. So I mean, just for the fun of it, you can go through, try to see whether you can understand what's going on there. All right, so this is the PHPinfo. So next is, how are we going to create our PHP files and then actually run it? Okay, so let's close this quickly. So over here, I've created a folder, my folder in the htdocs folder. Remember, let me just quickly go back, right? You go to this PC, you go to ASA, okay, mine is ASA, you go to XAMPP, you go to htdocs, right? And then you create your folder. So these are some of my projects folders that I have right now. Okay, so you can go to, you can create a new folder for this course, right? Probably on your installation by default, this will be empty. Okay, so we go to PHP lessons. Okay, and then I can create a new file over here. All right, and this is the dashboard, the PHPinfo file we just opened. This is the index.php open on the dashboard. Okay, so this is what is happening here. So the PHP lessons, this is where we'll be creating all the files for our project, for our course and whatever we do over here. All right, so let's go into our IDE and start creating some PHP files and having fun with it. Okay, so over here I have my Visual Studio Code opened, all right, and I've added my PHP lessons folder into the window, right? So we'll be creating all our files over here. But before we go on, let's go to the Visual Studio Code extensions, right? Before you start, you can install the PHP Intelliphense, this extension right here. It really helps. It gives you code suggestions and snippets, helps you to format your PHP code properly, and also I think you should definitely install that particular extension. Okay, PHP Intelliphense is a really good extension, right? I got it already installed, so I'm just going to skip that. Okay, so let's go back to our file. Let's go to our folder and let's create a new file, right? We'll call it index, or let's just make it my first PHP file.php, right? Okay, so this is my first PHP file.php. Now this file has been created in our PHP lessons folder, right? So if we go back there to this PC, XAMPP htdocs PHP lessons, right, you will see the file right here. Okay, so this htdocs is sort of the roots folder of the server. All right, so this is like sort of putting your project on the server, right? So when you get to a point where you are making you are deploying your website for everybody to access, right? What these hosting platforms do for you is that they give you this server, right, where you upload your files and your documents and your assets onto that server, and then people will be able to access. All right, and in the real world, let's open our browser. In the real world, this will not be localhost. This will be something like www.something.com, which will point to that file. So just like this localhost dashboard is pointing to that this file in the htdocs folder, the same way, once you deploy your website to an actual hosting and an actual server available for everyone to access, once people enter your domain www.mydomain.com, right, they will be pointed to that exact file. Okay, so this is the basic understanding of how the servers work, right? So we are over here, we are in htdocs PHP lessons, right? So we have our files right here on our server. Okay, so it means we can run our files, we can run our PHP scripts in our browser. Okay, when we run it in the browser, it's processed first by Apache before, and the PHP engine, right, the PHP Zen engine processes it as a runtime. It processes, compiles whatever we have to do, and then it sends the results back to the browser. Okay, and in the same way, PHP takes information from the HTML files or from our HTML markup and then sends it to the backend as well. So because this is what we're talking about, right? So let's go ahead to write our first line of PHP code. So to add PHP to your file, right, you start with an angle bracket, right, and a question mark, right, and then you type PHP, okay, and then you close that like this, right, and then let's write our first hello. So echo hello world, okay, and then PHP ends with a semicolon, right? So you end PHP script with a semicolon. So let's go run this in our browser and then see how it looks. Okay, so let's go back here and then let's type localhost, right, slash PHP lessons, right, slash my first PHP file dot PHP, right? So we have our hello world right here. This is like really big, and you've already written your first line of PHP code. All right, now technically you can decide to type all your the extension that we installed automatically remove the closing tags from there, right? Technically you can leave it like this till you are done with your code or whatever it is, or you can leave it like this till you get an HTML file. So like let's say you can do this, right? And if we have an HTML file here, okay, right, then you realize that didn't leave. Okay, so this sort of separates your HTML from your PHP, right? But definitely if there's no HTML yet to start with, right, you can always ignore that and then simply go ahead with your code. Okay, so over here echo hello world. So this is like an output construct. Okay, with echo you are able to display something from PHP to the browser, right? So like maybe a result of a calculation that was done, or maybe you made this request to the database and then the response has come, you want to echo it to the browser, stuff like that. And also like let's say somebody tried to log in and the login was unsuccessful, so like you need to display to the person from PHP the result from PHP that the login was unsuccessful. With that you can use echo as well, right? So let's play more with that. Okay, so echo you can even echo HTML from PHP. So let me say h1. Okay, this is a heading, right? This is too small. Let's reduce this a little. Okay, yeah, I think this is okay. So we save it, we reload. Okay, so we see we echoed HTML from PHP. So this is what makes PHP very powerful. How it's perfectly interplays with HTML is so cool. All right, now let's try something. Let's say we have an h2 tag over here, for example, right? Now we can, let's say this was our HTML code, we can actually embed PHP right in our HTML like this way. So we can say something like echo PHP heading, okay, something like that. Then we close it, we end the statement with a semicolon. Okay, always end your PHP statement with a semicolon. So let's refresh that. Okay, so you see we embedded PHP directly in our HTML. So PHP is very versatile. Okay, let's say you process something from the server, you want to show the response to the client. Okay, so like we said, it sort of serves as an intermediary between the client and then the database. All right, so over here this statement was processed on the back end, it was processed on the server side, and then it was brought back to the client for the client to see. Okay, so these are some dynamic ways you can really use PHP. There are so many things we can do here, and as we go on with variables and stuff like that, I'll be showing you more. So this is echo. We have other constructs, okay, like var dump. Okay, so Intelliphense is already suggesting something to me. So var dump you can use to dump an array. So let's say you have an array, and if you don't understand an array, don't worry, I'll take you through it really shortly. So an array, okay, let's reload that. Okay, so over here this is what var dump does. It shows you the array and each of the indexes of the array and the values over there. So var dump is also a nice construct. Okay, so let's jump straight into data types in PHP, where we'll talk about variables and all that stuff, which is also very interesting. This is just like the very introduction. Okay, so let's get to it. Okay, so I'll create a file over here, another file called data types. Okay, so data types.php. I'll save that. Okay, let me close this, and then let's come over here, and then now instead of my first PHP file, I'll say data types, data underscore types, right, .php. Okay, so that's an empty file, there's nothing in there. Okay, so I'm going to talk to you about strings, integers, floats, variables, and what they are, so that you understand. These are very important concepts in every programming language, and you find out that some of these concepts spill over to other languages like Python and JavaScript, and then so if you're coming from JavaScript, you realize that there are some similarities here and there. All right. Okay. All right. So let's open our PHP tags, right, and then let's start. So this is how we / is how we leave a single line comment. Okay, so basically comments are parts of your code that you don't really want to run. Okay, they are sort of like labels and stuff like that, just for you or any other developer reading it. Okay, so this is a single line comment, right? Single line comment. Okay, and this is a multi-line comment. Okay, we do it like this. So this is a multi-line comments. All right, so this is how we leave comments in PHP. Okay, so let's get this from there. Okay, so let's start with strings. Okay, so strings, right? So how do we declare variables in PHP? With a $sign and the name of the variable. Okay, so let's say name. Okay, or let me just say first name. Okay, so string is equal to Gilbert. Okay, so these are how we sort of like declare variables. So variables are like containers, right, that contain some information that you want to use for your code. Okay, so we can say first name is equal to that, last name is equal to Blankson. Okay, and then we can say full name is equal to $first name dot. Okay, so dot is one way we can concatenate strings in PHP. So first name dot, and then we give some space. Okay, so dot, we are sort of adding space after the Gilbert. Okay, and then we can say $Blankson, $last name. Okay, then over here we can echo $full name. Okay, so let's save that, and then let's refresh. Okay, so there we go. So Gilbert Blankson, right? So let's say this was an instance where somebody logged in. This could have been the first name you fetched from the database and the last name you fetched from the database. Okay, and then you were able to display it right on your website. Okay, so let's say you log into your Facebook account. Immediately you log in, you see welcome to your Facebook account. What would you like to post on your timeline to? Stuff like that. What's on your mind? Things like that. Or you log into your social media account and immediately you're able to see your profile details. Okay, this is all because the backend language that is being used on that platform is fetching information from the database and displaying it back at you in the browser. Alright, so these are strings. There are so many ways you can play around with strings. Okay, so let's say you had an HTML file here. Right, let's say h1. Okay, we say your profile page, right? Then maybe you had h2 here. We say first name. Okay, and then we had another h2, say last name. Okay, so what you can do is you can say PHP echo $first name right here. Okay, you terminate it. Okay, so there we go. Right, I think this is a bit too small, but I hope you can. Let's close this for a minute. Okay, all right, then we can say PHP echo $last name. Okay, we can do this. This works perfectly fine, right? So let's reload that. Okay, so you see, let me comment this out, this echo right here. Okay, let's reload that. Okay, so imagine this was like your social media platform, right? You could just show your profile page, the first name and then the last name. And in fact, if there was like a profile photo or something, right, you'd pick the name of the file from the database and display it over here. So this is how like things usually work. So this can be dynamic, right? We can say instead of Gilbert, this could be, so you realize that the same page, it's on the same profile page, but the information can be different. So we can have maybe John Blankson, we say we reload, Now this will automatically become John. We have not typed our HTML. All we are doing is displaying the first name variable. Okay, so we can say Peter, right? And then we save it. Okay, and we have Peter over here. So the same format, the same code, the same HTML, probably your same CSS styles, but then this is what we mean when your platform is dynamic, right? You sort of have the same layout and everything, but the content within it is always changing. Okay, the content within it is always changing. So these are strings. These are some types of a string is a data type, in PHP. Right. We can also, let's give another variable name. So this time around we can say this is like an integer. Okay, so let's talk about integer, right? So because PHP is dynamic, right, the type of the data you are passing to your variable is sort of like implied, right? It's dynamic, so the compiler tries to detect it based on the data you have passed. You get that? So let's say wallet balance. Okay, so let's say this was a bank app, right? We had wallet balance which was being fetched from the database. Okay, so we can say 500. Okay, so this is an integer type. Okay, so we can let's bring another one over here. Let's say h2. Okay, we can say wallet balance. Okay, then we can echo wallet balance here. So echo is not limited to just string. You can echo any type of variable. Okay, so let's reload that. So we have wallet balance here, and then we can bring Ghana CD, something like that over here. Okay, so we have GHC. Okay, so if the person's wallet balance is 700, okay, we can see the 700 automatically change over here, right? We can even add HTML variables, to like what we are doing. Okay, so we can say something like PHP echo BR. So this is like a line break, right? So we can break it right here if we want to. PHP is really versatile. There are so many ways you can play around it. So we echo the BR over here. So you can echo out and print even a direct HTML elements right from PHP. Okay, so sometimes you can sort of create everything you want to be displayed on your site in PHP and then simply echo it all out at once. Okay, so that is one way you can be playing around with variables. Okay, then we also have floats, right? Floats, we can have, let's say transfers today. So floats are usually like decimals and stuff like that. So 200.5. okay, so we can say wallet balance is this. Okay, we can create another h2 tag. We can say transfers today. Okay, and then we can say Ghana CD or whichever currency you want to use. Echo transfers today. All right, and then we close that. Then we have this. Okay, so transfers today. Now let's do something. Let's remove the semicolon from here. Okay, you see the Intelliphense sort of lets us know that, hey, we have some errors in your code. Unexpected variable name. We expected semicolon, but it's not there. Okay, so this is the error that will show pass error. So syntax error, unexpected variable transfers today in this file on line 11. Okay, so I come to line 11, right? So usually one thing that trips beginners is that, hey, my line 11 there's nothing wrong with my line 11. So why is that underlined? Okay, so here is the thing. The error before that line is what is actually the issue. Okay, so we are saying from the code you have written on the top, we are not expecting a variable like this. We are expecting something else. Okay, so usually when you see an error, you try to go to the code before that to see. So over here we come and then we realize that, oh, okay, we don't have a semicolon over here, so we bring that back here and then we do that. Okay, now let's try and force another error. Let's say instead of first name we make here first name, right? And then we reload. So you see we have warning, undefined variable first name in data types of PHP on line 17. Okay, so this is a more direct error. Okay, so we are echoing first name over here, but we don't have any variable declared in PHP that is first name. What we have is first num. Okay, so that won't work. Okay, that will show you an error. Okay, so you have to be very careful. This is something that really trips off beginners. You have to be very careful when you are passing variables from PHP to to your HTML file, especially when the variable is declared several times in PHP. Maybe the value you're expecting is not what the final value is. Okay, so this is something you have to be very, very particular about, else you always end up displaying wrong values to your users. Okay, so let's refresh that. Now let's try another variable type, boolean. Okay, so boolean, let's say logged in today. Okay, so logged in today can be true or false. Okay, so we are assuming that you logged in today, so that is true. Okay, so this is a boolean type. So booleans take either true or false. Okay, so this can also be false. All right, we can echo that just like we echo the other variables. Okay, and then we have the array types. So arrays. So basically, arrays sort of help you to group certain variables together. In PHP, there are so many types of arrays. You have the normal arrays, you have the associative arrays and stuff like that. But I'm going to keep things simple in this crash course. I'm going to talk about just the normal type of arrays, right? The 1D type of arrays. So we say maybe list of fruits. Okay. All right. So this is an array. We say array. Okay. So maybe we have mango. Right, we have pineapple, we have orange. Okay, these are list of fruits. Okay, so let's say this could be like a list of users, or maybe you are submitting a form, and somebody in your form, people have to sort of choose their preferences for the kind of fruits they want. So they choose that they want mango, pineapple, orange, or whatever they choose. Then you add it into your array, and then populate it. Okay, so we can, and arrays are sort of like index based. Okay, when I say index based, it means to access the elements of the array. When it comes to a variable, if you want to display first name, you just say echo first name. But if you want to display mango, right, now this is index based. So the first element is a 0, the second element is a 1, and the third element is 2. Okay, so if I want to display the first element in the array, I'll say something like, let me just add h2 here. Okay, and I'll say PHP echo $lists of fruits. First of all, let's just echo list of fruits as it is and see what happens. Okay, so you see, we are saying warning, array to string conversion. Okay, so we have an array. Yes, so we are trying to treat it as a string. Okay, so that won't work. Right, so we can bring a square bracket here and say 0. Okay, when we say list of fruits 0, okay, that will pick the first element of the array. If you say 1, okay, that's the second element, pineapple. We say 2, okay, that's the third element. Okay, so 0, 1, 2. So though there are 3 items, so typically the last element of the array is always the number of items minus 1. Okay, so over here the number of items is 3. Okay, so the last element will always be 3 minus 1. That is 0, 1, 2. Okay, so anytime you want to access the last elements of the array, you just get the length of the array and then subtract 1 from it. You always usually get the last one. Okay, but let's just say we really want to show all the items in the array. We can just use the var dump construct instead. Okay, and say var dump list of fruits. Okay, so that shows array 3, 0. So you see 0 is mango, and then it shows the type of the variable. 1 is pineapple, and then 2 is orange. Okay, it doesn't have to be the same type. In fact, we can have integers over here, 5, 6. Okay, PHP is dynamically typed, so some of these things are not very rigid. Okay, in other languages like C# and stuff like that, you can't just put different type of data in the same array, or you get an error. Okay, so you see this shows our 4, shows our 3, and then shows our 5 and all that stuff. So this is this is the PHP array. and then how it works. There are nicer ways to go through the array and display everything in the array, but then we'll talk about that in the loops section when we get to loops. Okay, so I hope this gives you an idea of the data types in PHP. You know how you can you know keep data in your PHP file, how you can move data from one point to another. Okay, so this transfers today can be a variable where anytime the person transfers a certain amount, that variable increases. Okay, so let's do something very simple like that and see how that works. All right, so in this file I created a new file called conditionals.php, right? So let's open our PHP tags, right? Conditionals basically are ways to help you compare values, or like it says, conditions, right? So let's say you want to compare two variables, or you want to check whether there is a certain state of a variable, or so for example, when somebody logs in on your site, a conditional can be if the username and the password the person entered is the same as what is stored in the database, then allow the person to enter. Okay, so these are how conditionals can come in handy. We have a variety of conditionals. We have less than, and we'll be exploring all of them pretty soon. We have greater than, we have greater than or equal to. Okay, so greater than or equal to. We have less than or equal to, right? We have equal to itself, right? So if you want to check whether two values are the same, right, we have the equal to, and we have other complex one as well. Now the equal to, one mistake most beginners make is that they end up using just a single equal to. Equal to, the single one is an assignment operator. Okay, so for that you are saying store this value in that. You are not actually comparing. Okay, so if you want to actually compare, then it's double equal to. So let's see how this works. So let's create a transfer balance. Okay, is let's say let's say our balance. Instead of transfer balance, let's use wallet balance. Okay, so wallet balance is equal to, let's say, 400, right? And let's say transfer amount, let's say equal to 10. Okay, so we can say that let's say people top up their accounts on our platform. So what we want to do is that if somebody tops up an amount, right? Let me make this top up amount instead of transfer top up amount, right? So if somebody tops up an amount which is more than 0, add that amount to the existing balance, okay, and then show us the new balance, right? So we'll say if right, $top up amount is greater than 0, right, what would have is $wallet balance is equal to $wallet balance, that's the old balance plus the top up amount, right? And then over here we can say h1, okay, wallet balance is equal to, then we echo the new wallet balance. Okay, so what will happen is that if the top up amount is not greater than 0, then this wallet balance will be the same. Okay, so let's have our wallet balance here. So let's go back to our local host, right? PHP lessons, right? And then let's change this to, I have 3 conditionals.php. Wow, so we have wallet balance 14. Okay, so this was processed on the backend and returned over here. So let's say the top up amount was 0. Okay, let's reload. So that is still 400. Okay, so immediately I bring it to, let's say, 50, right, and I reload. Okay, now that the wallet balance is 450, the same layout and everything like that. So this is how we can sort of be changing variables in the course of our code. So though we initialize our variable as 400, somewhere in our logic we're saying that, hey, somebody will be able to top up. When the person tops up an amount of more than 0, add it to their wallet balance and display to the person. Okay, so this 50 is typically information you would get from your HTML. Okay, so somebody visits your application, enters 50, and then you're able to sort of pick that 50 they entered and then top up the wallet balance. So that's how it works, right? If you've been exposed to JavaScript already, you pretty get a picture of what I'm saying. But if not, don't worry. We are going to talk about form processing, later on in the course. So just stay with me here. All right. Also, we can try other conditionals. So we can say greater or equal to 0. Okay, so let's say greater or equal to 0. So what we are saying is that if the top up amount is either 0 or greater than 0, add that value to the existing wallet balance. Okay, we can say less or equal to 0. Okay, if it's either 0 or less or equal to 0, add it. In this case, we see we did not add the 50 to the balance because the top up amount over here is is not less than 0 or equal to 0. Okay, so these are how conditionals work. Right now, what if you have you have multiple conditions to you want to achieve, right? So we can say else if, so not just less than 0, we can say that if this one is not true, okay, if this is not true and something else is true, do this, right? So we can have multiple else if statement. If this is not true but this is true, or but this is true, or but this is true, do this. Okay, so we can say else if your top up amount is greater than 0, okay, we say wallet balance, let's say wallet balance minus, this time around let's do minus. See, okay, so we are saying that if the top up amount is less or equal to 0, add that value to the wallet balance. Doesn't make sense, so but it still will be here. But if the top up amount is greater than 0, subtract it from the existing wallet balance. Okay, so let's reload this and see. So we have 350. Okay, so this condition did not pass, but this passed. And we can have multiple conditions, right? We can have another condition that says, okay, top up amount is not less than 0. Top up amount, so let's say instead of greater than 0, we say if it's greater than 50, add it. Else, wallet balance multiply the existing wallet balance by the top up amount. Okay, so this is a conditional that we are saying that, hey, if top up amount is less than or equal to 0, add it to the wallet balance. If the top up amount is greater than 50, subtract it from the wallet balance. Else, if none of these are true, then deduct the top up amount from the wallet balance. Okay, so now if everything fails, then multiply the top up amount by the wallet balance. Okay, so this gives you 20,000. So then all these do not evaluate to true, so your last statement, which is else, evaluates to true. And this is one of the most fundamental ways we write PHP conditions. Okay, so we have another type of conditional structure called a switch statement, right? So let's just comment this out for now, right? And then let's get this out of here. Let's save that. Let's reload the page. Okay, so we have the switch case, right? Let's see how that works. So let's say we have favorite clothing, right? We say maybe equal to shirts. Let's say shirts, right? Then we have this is how we state the switch. So switch $favorite clothing. Okay, so switch $favorite clothing, we say case shirt, right? I'll explain this shortly. Case shirt, we say echo your favorite clothing is a shirt. Okay, and then we break it here. Okay, and then we say case, let's say trousers. Okay, then we say echo your favorite clothing is trousers. Okay, and then we break it here, right? And then we can say maybe we can have as many cases as we want, and we say default. So default, we are trying to say if your option is not there, right? We say your favorite color is your favorite clothing is not shirts or trousers. Okay, so let's quickly reload the page and see what's going on here. Okay, so your favorite clothing is shirt. So this is how the switch statement works, right? We pass in a variable. Okay, so what we mean by case is that, okay, check the value of this variable. If it's shirts, echo that, break. This is the construct. If it's trousers, echo that and then break. If it's not, default says that if it's not shirts or trousers, then echo something else, right? So if we put trousers here and we save that, we will see we have your favorite clothing is trousers. All right, so this is how the switch statement works. It's very simple, very straight away. You can have as many cases as you want. We can even have let's say tie, right? Tie. Your favorite clothing is tie. Okay, so if we change this to tie, okay, we get your favorite clothing is a tie, right? Now you can apply this same concept to a number or something. So like this could be 1 or something. We say case 1 or case 2 or case 3 or stuff like that. Then this is another neat way of doing conditionals, especially when you know how to do too many comparisons and you just want to perform a certain action based on the actual value of the variable that you are checking. Okay, so this is how switch statements work. Okay, so we're going to talk about loops. So I'm going to create a file for loops.php, right? That'll be a new file. And then I'll change this to for then loops.php. All right. Sorry, I think I missed that. Okay, so all right. Okay, so here we go. All right, so we open our new PHP tags. All right, so loops, the basic concept of loops is that you are telling the code to sort of perform a certain action until a certain condition is met. Okay, so for example, you can say eat all the food on the plate until the food on the plate is finished. Okay, so the action you are performing is eating, and the only time you stop is when the food on the plate is finished. All right, so there are different types of loops in PHP, and they help you to perform certain repetitive actions until a certain condition is met, right? So we have the for loops, right? We'll talk about each. We have the while loops, right? We have the for each loop. In fact, we also have the do while loop, right? Do while loops. Okay, so let's see what each does, right? So let's say I want to print maybe 10 numbers. I want to echo 10 numbers to the browser, right? Now I can't do echo 1, echo 2, echo 3, echo 4, echo 5 up to 10. If I have 100, I'll have to do echo 1 up to 100, which is very repetitive and which is not efficient. Okay, so I can do that with a loop. So what I can say is for $x is equal to 0, right? That is the $x is equal to 0 is you are saying, hey, starts with a value of x is equal to 0, right? Now the condition is x, say x less than 10, for example, right? X plus, right? So what we are saying here is that start from x is equal to 0, right? Echo the value of x, right? Let's add a BR, okay, an ATM BR, so that each value will be on another line. Okay, so let's just refresh this and see how that looks. Okay, so we have 0, 1, 2, 3, 4 up to 9. Okay, so what we are saying is that start from a value of x is equal to 0, echo that value, right? After echoing it, increment the x value again, right? That is x plus plus. So x plus plus is the same as x is equal to x plus 1. Okay, So now the new value will be 1. Okay, now after incrementing, you check to see whether the value is now less than 10. So this is what I mean by the condition. Okay, this is the stop condition. So you are saying that increment x till you get to a point where x is less than 10, then you stop. Okay, or increment x as long as x is less than 10. Immediately x becomes more than 10 or equal to 10, stop the loop. Okay, so you realize that over here we have x up to, let me reduce this a little. Okay, so over here we have 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Okay, so this is a for loop. Okay, so the condition, the initialization, the condition, and then the iterator. Okay, now we can have a while loop, right, that says while $x is less than 10. So the same thing, right? While $x is less than 10, echo $x, right? And then .br, okay, right here. Okay, then we say $x plus plus. Okay, so for here we can initialize the x value as 0 over here. Okay, so this is another way to write things depending on what you want or what you are doing. Okay, so let me just echo this here, echo $for loops. Okay, right here. Let me do this. Okay, so for loops. Okay, let's bring the BR tag here. Okay, so for loops, and then let's make this while loop. Okay, so yeah, so we did the same thing with a while loop. All right, now we'll try the same thing with a do while loop. Okay, so do while loop, right? So just a quick reminder, while x is less than 10, echo the value of x, and after you echo, increase it. So if you increase it, the loop will check whether the new value of x is less than 10. If it's less than 10, it will echo it again and then increase it again. So the point when after incrementing, the value will no longer be less than 10, then at that point it stops. Okay, so let's try do while loops. Okay, so for do while loops, we say do this, so keep eating. So do echo, right, x dot br, right, okay, while $x is less than 10. Okay, so we would have $x plus plus here. Okay, so this is like sort of similar. All right, do this while, let's have our $x is equal to 0 right here. Okay, and let's end our statement right here. Okay, so do this, echo this, increment the value while is that. Okay, let's try that and see. Okay, so we have 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Okay, so we achieve the same purpose with different types of loops. Okay, so it really becomes a matter of what works for you. Right, now let's try for each loops. Right, for each loops are pretty useful when you are looking through an array. Okay, so let's say fruits, or let's say watches, jewelry, right? Okay, then an array, you can declare a PHP array like this. Okay, we can say watch, right? You can say chain, you can say earrings, right? Something like this. Okay, so we use var dump in the first time to sort of echo all this, but what if we want to loop through each individual item one by one and then sort of display it to the customer or display it to the user? Okay, so let me comment these loops out in the meantime so that we have a clean slate. Okay, so I'll say for each jewelry, as let me just say J, right? So we are saying that for each item represented as J, for each item in the array represented as J, okay, let's echo that out with a new BR tag. Okay, so let's reload that. Okay, so we have watch chain earrings. So you can do something interesting like adding I love. Okay, so I love watch, I love chain, I love earrings. Okay, so I love watch, I love chain, I love earrings. So this is a nice way of sort of looping through an array. Okay, over here we could have, let's say, a set of numbers, right? Numbers. Okay, and let's say we want to check if a number is, if we want to go through it all and display the numbers that are even or odd. Okay, so we can say maybe 3 7, let's say 4 8, and say something like 15, something like that, and let me add another one, 16. Okay, so we'll say for each numbers as number, right? And then what we can say is that if the number divided by 2 is equal to 0, okay, so this is the modulo symbol, modulo 2. Okay, so for even numbers, anytime a number is even divided by 2, you get a remainder of 0. So if the number modulo 2 is equal to 0, okay, so we are using condition in a loop, right? Then what you do is to echo that number, right? So we have that here. Okay, this thing is really confusing sometimes. Okay, so once we reload that, we get 4 8 16, right? So what happens here is that when we get to 3, when we take 3, we check this. Okay, is 3 modulo 2 equal to 0? No. So we go to the next one, which is 7. Is 7 modulo 2 equals 0? No. We go to the next one. Is 4 modulo 2 equal to 0? Yes. So we echo that. Then we go to 8. Is 8 modulo 2 equal to 0? We echo that, in that order till we get to the end. So for each is really good for looping through arrays. Really good for looping through arrays. Now there's another interesting type of arrays called the associative arrays. They're a little bit more complicated, right? So you can have an array, say person. Okay, and then here's the thing. So associative arrays usually have the key value system, right? So we can say maybe first name is equal to, with this arrow, the elephant arrow, Gilbert, right? And we can say last name is equal to points to Blankson. Okay, sorry, this is supposed to be a comma, right? So this is not your typical type of array. This is an associative array. So we have the key and then the value, key value. Okay, so this helps you to store, if there's some related information about a single object that you want to store, you can use an associative array to store it, so that you don't have to declare multiple variables or something like that for it. So you take person, you can just get all the values. So if I want to loop through all the items in this associative array and then display the values, right? I can say for each $person as key. Okay, so these are the keys. So I said key value. So each person has key pointing to their value. Okay, so I can say echo, let's say key, right? So I can say $key, right? And then I can give some space over here, and I can say let me just say let me say value. Okay, so value, and then I give some space here, and I'll say $value. Okay, and let me just add some BR tags over here. Let's see how that looks. Okay, all right, so let's look through this and see what we have. Okay, so we see we have key is the first name and the value is Gilbert. The key is the last name and the value is Blankson. Okay, so we can, if we add something here, this is very dynamic. If we add, let's say, another value here to make it like age, maybe age is 50 years, for example. Am I 50 years? Okay, I'm probably 50 years, right? So automatically that gets added here. So this is another way we can loop through arrays. So for each is a very powerful looping construct. Knowing how to use it will help you to be very dynamic in how you can pass your values, at any point in time, right? So let's go on to the next item. Okay, so next we'll talk about functions, right? So I'm going to create a new file here. So that's the fifth one, functions.php, right? And I'm going to close this right here, and then I am going to change this to 5 functions .php. Okay, perfect. So let's do this. Okay, so what are functions? Basically, functions are like code constructs that sort of help you to sort of group some logic together without having to rewrite it over and over and over and over again, right? So in PHP, functions are declared like this function. Let's say hello, right? Then parenthesis, then we say echo hello, right? So let's just say, functions can get more complicated like this. You can be doing some whole logic in here. I don't want to repeat it all over again, right? So you put all that in in a single function call. Okay, so let's say in this case we don't want to write echo hello all the time, right? So we can put echo hello in a function, then over here we can come and call the function say hello, invoke it with a colon, and then we have hello right here. Okay, so this called this. Okay, now we can pass argument to the function to make it more dynamic. So let's say instead of saying echo hello, we want to say hello to every new user. Okay, so we can pass an argument in a function over here like this. Let's say new user. We can even pass multiple arguments, like say new user, phone number, email, whatever it is. Okay, so let's keep it simple. New user. Then we can say hello dot new user. Okay, so we can say hello Gilbert, right? So let's see that. Hello Gilbert, right? Let's make this more fun. Okay, so let me bring a BR tag here. I don't know why I keep typing capital. So BR right here. Okay, so now we can say hello Kojo, right? We can refresh that. So hello Kojo. We can say hello Emeka, and we can have that. So you realize that with the same piece of code, we are sort of just calling say hello, and our code is looking simpler. Without the function, you would have had to do something like this, like this for each and every single user. Okay, but then with the functions, we've been able to keep things quite simple there, right? So we can let's try another function. Let's say function sum two numbers. Okay, so this takes number 1, okay, and it takes number 2. All right, and then we say return. We can say return number 1 plus number 2. Okay, so when we say return, we are saying that return whatever result you have here into something. Okay, return it into something. So we can say $sum is equal to, right, sum two numbers. Okay, so we just say want to sum 1 and 2, which are the first two variables. Okay, so we can say echo $sum, right? So let's try that. Okay, so we have 3 over here. So what is happening here? We are passing 1 and 2 to this function. We are adding it and we are returning. So once we return it, over here we are returning 3. Okay, so this 3 is being assigned to this sum variable right here, and then we are echoing it right here. To keep things cleaner, we could have just said something like this, and then it will work perfectly. Echo that. Okay, and we'll get the same result. Okay, so this is how to pass values to functions. So functions are very useful, for passing data or passing logic that you don't want to be writing repeatedly, to a code snippet, a code block that you can be reusing over and over and over again, right? There's another thing we can do here. We can pass a default value to the value of 1. Okay, so we can say n1 by default is equal to 1. So in that case, if the user, or if you do not pass that value to the function, what will happen is that PHP will still consider the value as 1, right? So let's see how that works. Okay, so what is happening here is that in PHP, required arguments usually have to come before the optional argument. So we are supposed to make this way, n2, you know, comma n1. So since n1 is optional, it has to come as the last parameter. Okay, so once we reload that, this works perfectly. Right now, if we want to maintain the order, okay, PHP in PHP 8 we have a new feature called named arguments, okay, where we can say n2 is that, okay. I think my Intelliphense is not really, I've not updated it, so it's not really picking up that this is actually valid. Okay, so let's check that out. Okay, so you see once we refresh, it's the same thing. So this is when you don't want to, you just want to maintain your you know, your order over, you don't want to mess around with it, so we can use named arguments like that. So this is one, these are functions, and you know, there's so much you can do with it. We can write another function that you know, subtract two numbers or whatever it is with the same concept we have over here. Okay, so immediately let me just bring this back to 1 and 2. Okay, let's just make it this way. All right, and then one thing that we should talk about is the function scope. Okay, so if I have a variable here, let's say $x, or let's say we have n3 is equal to 5. Right, now this variable is in what we call the global scope. Right, it's in the global scope, accessible to functions accessible to code outside the functions over here, right? But over here, so let me put here global scope. Okay, and over here we have the function scope. Right, so basically variables in the function are not available to variables outside the function. Okay, so let's just say instead of this we have something like n5 is equal to n1 plus n2. Okay, and then we say return n5. Okay, this will still work, but if we try to echo n5 directly, okay, this is what will happen. We have undefined variable n5, okay, because the n5 was declared in the function scope, not the global scope. All right, the same way, if we want to echo, let's say n3 over here, echo $n3, right, we'll get undefined variable n3 in the function, right, because n3 is in the global scope and it is not available to the function, right? So what if we have a value outside? Let's say in our case n2 was outside. Okay, let's say we had n2 here. Okay, let me just make this 1. Okay, so we had n2 here, so we're pulling n2 from somewhere. Okay, and then we wanted to pull this m2 into this function. What we will do is we'll use a keyword called global. So global n2. So this says that, hey, pull the m2 from the global scope into the function scope and then use it to do whatever you have to do. Okay, so let's reload that. Okay, so now we have 6. So that is 1 over here, which we passed here, plus the n2, which is 5. That gives us 6. So this is functions. Understanding the global scope and then the function scope is very important, you know, to avoid certain kind of errors. Right, so let's now that you understand function, we've done, you know, how to declare functions, how to pass arguments. I think it's pretty cool, basic understanding for functions for now. Right, so let's go on to the next item. Okay, so next we are going to talk about array functions. All right, so array functions in PHP, they are sort of like inbuilt functions that are available for you. You know, PHP has already created some functions for you to be able to use without having to rewrite everything from scratch. Okay, so let's quickly jump into what that means. Right, so I'm going to create a new file. Her name is 6 array underscore functions.php. All right, so let's close this right here. Then let's get this. So this is 6, right? 6. Right, array underscore functions.php. Okay, so yeah, so let's get started with that. So let's just say we have an array we declared. Let's say names. Okay, say equal to Emeka, Kojo. All right, we have Peter. Okay, so this is like an array of names that we have. Right, let's say we want to count the number of items in the array. Okay, so we have a function called count, so we can say just count names. Okay, let's refresh. Sorry, I should have echo echo count names, right? So echo count names. Okay, so we have 3 names. So if I add another item, let's say George, okay, that is now the count becomes 4. Okay, so that's the this is a function, an array function for counting the number of items in an array. Okay, and let's say we are building a system, right? We have an array of usernames. Let's say these are usernames. Okay, no, let me just create another variable instead. Okay, to make it easy. So let's say these are usernames. Okay, so an array of usernames. We have pp56, right? Just random stuff, 5 6 7. Okay, and then let's say we have another one, let's say gm93. Okay, so these are usernames, right? So what we want is that if a user enters an item, if the user is asked to provide a username they want to use, and we check the usernames array, and then that particular value is in the array, then we tell the user that, hey, this array has already this username has already been taken. Else we show the user that, okay, our username is available. Okay, so let's say the inputted username from the user is let's say pp56, right? So what we say is, if in array, okay, if in array the inputted username, okay, so if the inputted username is in the list of usernames, okay, so in array returns whether true or false. Okay, so if so, echo username has already been taken, right? Else echo username is available, right? Okay, so let's reload that and see. Okay, so we say username has already been taken because pp56 is in the list of users. If we make this, let's say pp5, right, we get username is available. Okay, because pp5 is not in the array. Okay, so this is a very dynamic way of being able to check whether an item is in the array. Okay, so in array is a very powerful array function PHP provides for you. Okay, so let's go ahead with another array function. Okay, so let's say we have a list of what can we have here? Let's say devices. Okay, so we have an array of, let's say, computers, right, and keyboards, right, and let's say we have monitors. Okay, right, and let's say we want to the users are allowed to add as many devices as they want, right? So how do we add an item to this array? Okay, so we can say array push. So let's say new device. Okay, we can say array push, right? So array push, and then whatever item sorry, I made a mistake here. So let's say the new device is a system unit. Okay, system unit, right? Then we can say array push, then we can say push a new device over there. Okay, so that is array push. Let's see. Okay, so let's print r, right, the devices array, to see how that changes. Okay, so let's reload here. Okay, undefined uncaught error. Okay, sorry, so I think I forgot one. So we need to have the array we are adding to over here, devices. Okay, so that is the first argument, right? So let's reload that. Okay, so you see we have now computers, keyboard, monitors, and system units, right? We can actually add as many, so we can also say we can even add it another time. Okay, so let's see that. So we have computer, keyboards, monitor, system units, and another system unit. Okay, so that is how array push works. Okay, we have let's say we want to add the new device. So we have, let's say, another device and for this device we want to add it to the beginning of the array, not the end. Okay, so when you realize that system unit is coming at the end, let me get rid of that. Another device. Okay, we can say maybe speakers. Okay, so we can say array on shift. Okay, so array on shift takes the devices array and then it adds another device over there. So this inserts the speakers into the beginning of the array. So print r, $devices. Okay, so let me yeah, let's save that. Okay, so you see we have now speakers is now the first item in the array. Okay, so that is array on shifts. That is how array on shifts works. Okay, let me just make this a bit more compact. Okay, over here. Okay, so that you know we see how adding items to array. Okay, and then removing items from array. Okay, so we can say array pop. Okay, so array pop, then we pass the devices array. Okay, so array pop, then let's print r $devices. Okay, so array pop, let's see how that looks like. Okay, so we added, you know, to keep things simple, let's comment this out so that we just have devices. Okay, so array pop devices will remove the first element, the last element in the array. So over here you realize that monitors have been removed, so we are left to just computers and keyboard, right? We can also do let me comment this out. Okay, so instead of array pop, we can do array on shift. Array shift. Okay, so array shift is like the opposite of array pop. It removes the first element of the given array. Okay, so let's do that. Okay, so for this one, computers have been removed and we have keyboards and monitors. Right now, array shift and array pop sort of move first and last elements, right? A last and first element respectively. Now what if we want to remove a specific element, let's say keyboards, right? So this way we can use another array function called onset. Okay, so onset takes the array and then the particular index you want to remove, right? In our case, keyboards is 0 and 1. Okay, so we say onset devices 1. Okay, so let's check that. Okay, so you see over here keyboards have been removed, so we have only computers and monitors, right? But then the indexes were reserved. Okay, so instead of 0, 1 we have 0, 2. Okay, so that is how onset works. This is something you should actually think about. Now I want to add another value here, speakers like this. Okay, now there's another very interesting value called another interesting function called array chunk, right? So array chunk, sorry. Okay, so for array chunk, what you are saying is that I want you to divide my existing array into sub arrays of, let's say, 2s, for example, right? So let's print that and see how that looks like. Okay, so we have computers, keyboards, okay, and then we have monitors and then speakers. Okay, so basically that is how array chunks works. All right. Oh, actually, there's a small mistake here. So array chunk, you would have to pass the value to, let's say, a new array. Okay, so new array. So then we chunk the existing array and then we pass it over to a new variable. So we print out new array instead. Okay, perfect. So now we have the first array, and in that array we have computers and keyboards, right? And then we have a second array, and in that array we have monitors and speakers, right? So array chunk is also a very powerful array function that you can use when you need to make adjustments to certain arrays. There are some use cases that some of these functions come in very, very handy. All right. And so let's say we have another array here called prices. Okay, something just random. Say let's say 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay, we can do something like array merge. Okay, so we can say array merge, right? Array merge devices and then $prices. Okay, so this will sort of put all these array together as one. So we have new array over here. Okay, so array merge device and price. Okay, so we have now we've combined two arrays into one. Okay, so now I have 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Okay, so computers, keyboards, monitors, speakers, and then now we combine, we append these values to that as well. Now let's say we have quantities, right? Quantities. Let's say this is quantities. Right. There's another really cool array function called array combine. Okay, so let's see how array combine works. Okay, it's the same syntax, right? But let's see how that works. Array combine. So array combine, this is what happens. Okay, this is quantity. Sorry, I have to change this to quantities here. Let's see that. Okay, on cut value array combine argument mean must be keys must have the same number of elements in there. Okay, all right. So 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, so we need to make this 4. Okay, let's reload that. Okay, perfect. So what array combine does is that it takes the first array, right, and treats this, makes them keys to an associative array, and then the second array becomes values to those arrays. Okay, so then over here the new array says computer has 1 quantity, keyboards has 2, monitors have 3, and then speakers have 4 quantity. Okay, so that is also array combine, another very nice feature, right? So sometimes you are probably dealing with a lot of records, so you have a set of items, and then you have in an array, and then you have another set of related values to those items in another array. Okay, and you sort of want to combine them into one array while you maintain that, hey, this key actually belongs to this value, this key belongs to this value. In such an instance, you can easily use the array combine, to do what you have to do. Okay, so let's have fun with more array functions. Okay, so we're going to try another pretty cool function, right, called array map. Okay, so let's try something. So let's say we have a set of numbers over here. Okay, say let's say we want to generate a set of numbers between a certain value and a certain value. Okay, so range 1 to 20. Okay, so range is a PHP function. You can say print our numbers. Let's just see what is going on here. Okay, so we have an array of numbers from 1 up to 20. Okay, so we didn't have to type all that manually, right? Now let's say we want to do something cool. We want to go through this entire array of numbers, and then what we want to do is say maybe just append number 1, number 2, number 3, number 4, something of that sort. Okay, so we can say new numbers, okay, is equal to array map. Okay, so array map is a function, right? So the number, okay, this can be it doesn't have to be number, it can be item, whatever, so you can make it item. Okay, so this this item is each value that is picked during the loop. Okay, so we can say item, right, and then we can say return number, then maybe dollar item. Okay, so we can say something like this, right? Okay, and then over here we pass in the value dollar numbers. Okay, that's the variable we are trying to map through. Okay, so this is it over here. Okay, so now let's print our dollar new numbers. Okay, so let's see what we have. Okay, so you see we have number 1, number 2, number 3, number 4, number 5 in that order. Okay, so array map is sort of like going through each of the items in numbers. Okay, each of the array items in numbers, and then it is appending it to number and then returning that value to new numbers. Okay, so we pick 1, we add number 1, we take it to new numbers. We pick 2, we add number 2, we add it to new numbers, in that order till we are done looping through. So array map is a pretty cool feature, right? And then we also have another one called array filter. Okay, so array filter, let's say we want to just take the even numbers in this range. Okay, so we say even numbers, right? We say array filter. Okay, so array filter, and then we pass the numbers, right? And we say function. Okay, so we say return. Okay, so we return sorry, I think I forgot something here. Item. Okay, so return item %2 is equal to 0. Okay. So what we are saying here is that, okay, this is just like saying if item %2 is equal to 0, return item. Okay, so what we are doing here is that it's going to loop through from 1 to 20. If it finds any element that dividing by 2, the remainder is 0, it will just return it back to the even numbers. Then over here we can print the even numbers right here. Okay, so let's reload that and see what we have. Okay, so you see we have 2, right? We have 4, we have 6, we have 8, we have 10, we have 12, we have 14, 16, 18, and then we have 20. Okay, so this is array filter. So there are we just covered just a little bit portion of all the PHP array functions that are available. There are so many array functions. We cannot even go through all of it in just one video. Okay, so use this as a basic foundation, right, to explore more and then look at the other array functions available. All right, and then add that to your toolset, because I believe it will definitely help you. Okay, so in the next video I'm going to go straight to string functions, right? Okay, so we are going to go on with string functions, right? So basically, just like array functions help us to manipulate arrays, stuff like get the length and the last item and the first item. String functions also help us to manipulate strings, get like the length and then the reverse the string and all that stuff. So I'm quickly going to create a new file, just like I've always done. So this will be string_functions.php, right? And I'll change this right here. We'll make this also string_functions.php. all right, so we have an empty slate like we always do. Let me collapse this and let's start with our PHP tags. All right, now I'm just going to copy and paste this functions over here, and then we'll go through it one by one. Okay, so you can also pause this video and then play around with this, try it on your end as well. Okay, so let's save this and then refresh. All right, so we have this here. Forgive the mumbo jumbo stuff over here, but then we are going to go through it one by one and then understand what each function is doing. All right, okay, so we have a string hello world, right? So the first function we are going to look at is strlen string len, right? So this takes the string as the function argument. Now note that all these functions are provided by PHP runtime, right? So you do not have to actually write the function on your own, except for some 1 or 2 instances, right? So string len is to get the length of the string. All right, so over here this will count the hello world, all the characters here, including the spaces as well. Okay, the next one is the str post, right? So what we are trying to do is to get the position of the first occurrence of this character. So we are saying, okay, in hello world, what's the first occurrence of O in hello world? Okay, so over here we see we have 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, right? So the first character is always 0, just like in arrays. Okay, so we don't start from 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, we start from 0. So 0, 1, 2, 3, 4. So we know that the first occurrence of O is 4. Okay, so which is what we have here. Then we have strr post. Okay, this is the last occurrence. It's like the opposite of str post. Okay, so strr post is the last occurrence of the character O. Okay, so and we know that the character O, this is the last occurrence. Okay, so we get the index 2 for that as well, and we echo that. Then this is strrev, right? This is reversing a string. Okay, so we want to turn this the other way around. Okay, so now the string will be dl, instead of hello world we'll have dlrowo, in that order. So this is what we have here, dlrow, in that order. So that's reversing a string. I mean, if you have to write all these functions on your own, that would be inefficient and a waste of time, right? So it's always good to know that these functions are available for you to use at any time instead of writing everything from scratch, right? So, and we have str to lower. Okay, so it's like string to lower. So string to lower converts all characters to lowercase. So over here would have, instead of the capital H and the capital W, we will have small h and small w as well. Okay, so that's str to lower. And then we have str to upper, okay, which is the opposite of str to lower. That one converts all the characters to uppercase. All right. And then we have UC words. Okay, there are times you can also use UC first, right? So UC words is like it converts every first letter of every word into uppercase. All right, so that is UC words. And then we have str replace. Okay, so str replace takes 3 arguments, right? This is the it's like you are replacing a certain word in the string with another word. Okay, so let's say we want to replace world with everyone. So instead of hello world, we want to say hello everyone. Okay, we'll say replace world with everyone in this string. Okay, so always remember that that is str replace, and it has 3 characters. Usually as beginners, this can really get confusing sometimes. This particular function even may trace me up sometimes, right? But then once you use it more and more, it becomes a part of you. Okay, and then we have substring. Okay, so substring is like you want to sort of take a part of this string, you want to just truncate it in a way. So that takes the string you want to truncate, and then it takes the where you want to start truncating from, and then where you want to stop truncating at. Okay, so over here we have substring, string, and then 0, 5. Okay, so 0, we are saying that okay, start from the first element, start from 0 index, and then truncate up to 5, and then get me that string. Okay, so that's what substring has. This could have been 1, this could have been 2, in that order. And then we have substring. So this does not have the first index offset. All right, so for this one, it's like an overload of this. This just gives you the first 5 letters or the first 5 characters in the string. Okay, it just assumes that you mean the first index is 0. Okay, so that's the substring that. And this is also a very interesting function. We have string starts with string hello. Okay, so if you want to check whether there is there's this set of characters that begin the string, this is a very nice function to use. So if the string starts with hello, then echo yes. Okay, so you realize that we have yes over here because in this string hello starts the string. Okay, we could have made it if string starts with he, for example, that will also give us yes because he also starts the string. And then we have the last function, which is string ends with, right? So string ends with is the opposite of string starts with. So we want to see whether the string ends with LD or something. I mean, in a practical scenario, you could use this in, let's say, validating an email or something like that. Yes, let's say you make users enter email, and you want to make sure that the email they are entering, it always ends with something like at gmail.com or at something.com, right? You could use the string ends with to sort of validate that. I mean, technically that is not the correct way of validating email, but then you get the idea. So if the email they are entering ends with, or if the value they are entering ends with .com, then it's probably a valid email. All right, so these are some of the scenarios that you would use string ends with. And then for other validation purposes as well. So these string functions can be really powerful. There's like hundreds of string functions in PHP. All right, and if you have to go through all that would take like 1 year or something like that to go through all that. But these are the most popular, the most common ones that you'll be using on a daily basis. All right, if you want to learn more about the string function, you can always go to the PHP manual site, the PHP documentation site. So how do you get there? In my browser, I'll just type PHP documentation. All right, and then we go to php.net. Okay, so this is the PHP documentation site where you can find anything about PHP, string functions. And also let me just type PHP string functions. Okay, let's see whether we can find more of that. Okay, so string functions. There's a whole lot of string functions. So you see, we have @slashes, chop, chr, convert, uud code. It's a whole lot of string functions, and what I just showed you is just a tip of the iceberg. All right, so if you want to learn more on string functions, always make the php.net manual your friend. Okay, and it's not necessary to sort of memorize all the functions. All right, just know that these functions are available. That is what matters. Okay, you just need to know that there is something available for this thing that I want to do. Okay, so if you want to find the length of the string, you are aware that there's a function that allows you to find the length of the string, so that you don't go around just building your own string length function from scratch. Okay, and that would just be a waste of time. Okay, so be aware of all the functions that are available from beginning to end. Okay, sometimes it helps to just go through it and okay, we have something like soundx, we have something like strcomp. Okay, we have something like strrev, we have something like strpost, right? It makes you a better developer, a better programmer when you know it like that. Okay, so this was string function. So in the next item, we'll be talking about superglobals. Okay, so let's talk about superglobals in PHP, right? I am going to simply copy and paste file here, all right? And then we'll go through this quickly, right? So superglobals are simply built-in variables that are available in all scopes. Okay, so when we were tackling functions, we talked about the fact that some variables are in the global scope, some variables are also in the function scope, right? But then with superglobals, they are available everywhere by default. They are variables that they are everywhere so you don't need to sort of put them in a function or declare their scope or whatever it is, right? You can call them at anywhere at any time in your script, and then you can access the information that is in there. Okay, and globals that we have in PHP are like $_ uppercase GET. All right, so GET, for example, is a very powerful super global that you'll be using most of the time. And if you realize, they all have a certain kind of format. Okay, so $_ and then capital and then the name of the variable. Okay, so get contains information about variables passed through a URL or a form. All right, so normally when you're submitting a form or you are developing your software, there are times that you'd have to pass some information in the URL. So typically you see something like this. Let's say www.something.com, right? And then you see something like this, question mark, submit is equal to true. Okay, so you typically see something like this in some website that you visit. In fact, let's just take YouTube for example. Okay, if you click on a video, right, you see this right here, watch question mark being is equal to that. So this character, right, this URL over here is a get request. Okay, so with that you can use the get superglobal to access this value over here, and then fetch the video that corresponds to the video with this ID. Okay, so get superglobal is really powerful. Okay, let's get this together. And the same for post, right? Post also helps you to retrieve the data that is passed through your forms as well. Also really powerful. Some of the data that is passed through forms is not always available in the URL. Okay, so usually when you are submitting a form that has information like credit card information, username, passwords, and all like that, you retrieve these variables with posts. Okay, and we have cookie that contains information about variable passed through cookies. In fact, we'll go through all this, so don't worry. And then session contains information about variables passed in the session, and then server too as well. Now these variables are usually associative arrays. Okay, so let's just echo something like this. Now let's just echo var dump, right, and then we'll just var dump the server super global, for example. All right, okay, so sorry, I mistyped this. Okay, so let's refresh that again. Okay, so you realize that it's a really huge associative array with a lot of keys and different values, okay, about the server information. So when you pick the server super global, you can further on go ahead to actually pick the key of what you are actually looking for. You don't always need all this. So all this here is information about the server that our file, our super globals file, is currently running on. Okay, so we'll go more into detail and then begin to pick some of these values. All right, so let's play around with some of these super globals. I'll create an HTML file over here, something very simple, and then we'll create an unordered list, okay, with an li. All right, and let's say host. Okay, so with this we can echo $server, right? $server and then HTTP host. So this is the key. This is one of the keys available in the server super global. So let's refresh that. Okay, so HTTP. So let me bring this here. Okay, and then okay, so this is such a silly mistake, right? So it's HTTP host, right? I don't even know how I didn't see that. So it's HTTP host, sorry. Yeah, so that is localhost. So currently we are running on localhost. Okay, so if we're on an actual server, maybe with a domain, we probably get our domain as our host, right? So instead of going ahead to to type all the samples we want to do, I will simply copy and paste this here. Okay, so we'll go through it one by one. So document root, let's reload that first. Okay, so document root, we can get it by server document root. Okay, so this is like the roots folder, okay, the main roots folder of the file, right? And then we have, so we said that roots folder is htdocs, right? That's the roots folder of the server. Okay, so htdocs. We have the system root, okay, which is also another key in the server global, right? So that is Windows, which is the system root. The server name is localhost. This is the port we are currently running on. This is the current file in PHP lessons and superglobals.php. The request URL, okay, so PHP lessons of superglobals.php, right? That is this URL over here. And then the server software we are currently running on is Apache 2.4, with PHP 8.0.8. Okay, so this gives you like a lot of information about the environment that you are working in, the server parts of things. Okay, so this is one of the things that makes PHP very, very powerful. And in the back end, there's a whole lot of information that you need to be aware of, okay, as you develop your platform. So these are super globals. Something like PHP self, okay, PHP self is very powerful. When we tackle how forms are submitted, how you can retrieve information from the forms that are submitted, you realize that PHP self is really, really powerful when you don't want to statically type the name of the files all the time. Okay, you can just use PHP self, and this makes your code very dynamic. Okay, it makes it very, very dynamic. Let's say you want to be uploading some files into a certain portion of your back end. Okay, some of these super globals, it helps you such that you don't always have to manually type in the directory path or stuff like that. So in case the directory path changes, okay, these super globals pick the new paths, for example, and then simply redirect you there. So super globals are really, really powerful, as you can see over here. And then for this, I would like to shout out to Traversy Media, okay, for his GitHub repo where he had this over there. So shout out to him. So you can check out his repo for this code snippet. Okay, so this is really powerful. So get to understand it, just like we dealt with string functions. Super globals are also, there's a whole lot of super globals, there's a whole lot of keys in each of them. We cannot cover everything, okay, but then you need to understand why they exist, why they are there, and why PHP has them. Okay, so they help you in really, really programming your back end. They are really powerful. I have to say that again, okay, and you see that shortly. So this has been super globals, right? So we just move on to the next item. Okay, so now I have a new file, get post.php. All right, so we are going to talk about let me create my PHP tags. Okay, So we are going to talk about how to retrieve information using the get and post super globals, right, from the URL and from forms that we submit. Now, this is really like a very core part of PHP and backend development, right? Being able to retrieve information from here and there. Okay, so first of all, let me just close this, okay, and bring a new HTML tag over here. All right, and then let's create a simple link, okay, ahref. Okay, now the whole idea is that when you click this link, right, we want it to just bring you on the same page. Okay, so for that, like I said, instead of typing this, okay, typing all this as the href over here, we can simply use echo $server, okay, php self. Okay, so we can just do this instead of typing the whole URL again. So let me just come here. So click me. You see, anytime you click, it just takes you back, it just brings you back to the same page. All right. Let me just zoom this in a little, right, just to make it a little bit bigger. Okay, so this is click me, right? So let's just say we are passing in some parameters, right? You know, like I showed you on YouTube. Let's just quickly go there one more time. Okay, now on YouTube, when you click on a video, for example, let me just click on this video. Okay,
I'm afraid.
Let me pause that. This is what happens. Okay, it takes you to youtube.com/watch, and then there's a question mark and then v equal to that. Okay, so what happens is that every video has an ID, okay, a unique ID that's generated by YouTube. So YouTube backend developers, this is a very simplified explanation, right? But YouTube backend developers can simply pick this ID and then fetch all the information in relation to this particular ID and then show it to you on the screen. Okay, so let's do something similar. All right, so let's go back to our code, okay, and then let's pass the similar URL. So let's say this is equal to v, right? So we have the question mark and v is equal to yxc v, you know, t, whatever it is. Okay, so this v can be accessed through the get super global. Okay, so let's do this, right? Echo $_get, okay, then the name of the get variable, okay, which is v. Okay, let's reload the page. Okay, now why do we have this undefined array key v is you know, in the line? Why? Because currently we have not clicked this link. Okay, so if you check the URL is still 9 getPost.php. We've not yet passed the v parameter. Okay, so let's click this and see. Okay, so now this is displaying over here. So you see we have 9 getPost question mark v is equal to that. Okay, so if this particular vein, right, had some you know, it had some information in our database, we'll just say something like we'll just pass this to, let's say, video selected, okay, is equal to get vein. Okay, then the ID, and we'll do something like search database for information relating to the video selected. Okay, right, and it's the same thing for so let me just echo video selected here, you know, video selected over here. Okay, and let's reload that. Okay, so we come back here and then we change this. So if we change this to another ID, it will automatically show up over here. Okay, so if I make this 4, okay, now that will be 4. Okay, because if I make this something like this, that will pop up right over here. If I make it something like this, that will pop up right over here. If I make this A1, you know, some dummy stuff, that will also pop up over here. This is what we mean by dynamic, you know, making your platform dynamic. Okay, so it's the same page, but then just because we are passing different parameters in our get request, we are able to show different information, okay, on our page. All right, so let's go back to YouTube and let me quickly explain something to you. Right now, using get request, let me just click this music, right? Using get request, this layout over here, this YouTube layout, right, is the same layout. Okay, there is no difference with it and other videos, but then using this get request, YouTube is able to show different content, different comments on the same page, because this is changing. So anytime this changes, the content over here changes, and that is one of the power of PHP, okay, and other backend languages. Okay, so this is get request, and this is how it works. Okay, let's do something else. Let me just do this. Okay, so this is what we have here. Now let me just comment this out just a minute. Okay, and before I comment out this, you know the get request doesn't only take just one parameter. Okay, it can even take another parameter. So you can say and I'm sure you see this in so many URLs. We say and, maybe we say y is equal to Gilbert. Let's just say this was a video and the y parameter is the name of the channel. Okay, so Gilbert. So over here too, we can equally echo, right? Echo dollar get right, and then y. Okay, but then if we reload the page, you see we have an error over here. Okay, it's undefined, so we have to click this and then pass that value into the URL, and then we get our Gilbert. And just like for the bean, anytime this changes, right, to let's say Gilbert 4, we click it again. So now when you see this type of parameters, that question mark and stuff like that in the URL of a platform or a website you visit, you have an idea of what is going on there, right? That URL is simply parameters that are being passed to the back end. Okay, and then the back end can pick those URLs and do some processing with it. They are usually get requests. Okay, they are called get request. And the URL, anything after the question mark is usually what we call the query string. Okay, so we pass the information to the backend. The backend is able to pick it up and then do whatever processing it has to do with it. Okay, so I'm going to get rid of these and then get rid of this one too as well. Okay, now let's do a little bit of form processing. Okay, so let's say we have a sign up form. All right, I'll quickly create let me reload this. Okay, sorry, I've not saved this. I want us to get a clean slate. Okay, so we have a sign up form. Okay, so I'm going to create that. Okay, so label, let's say username, let me say input type text, right, and I'll say name is equal to username. Okay, I'll explain what the name tag means very soon. Okay, and let me just say to keep things simple, let me just say age. Okay, age, right, and I'll say input type text. Okay, and I'll say name is equal to age. All right, and I'll say input type is equal to submit. Right, value is equal to submit, and name is equal to submit. Okay, so let's reload the page, see what we got. Okay, so we have username, age, and then submit. Okay, so let's just say this is a form that is on our web application, and then we want to process this. Okay, so what we want to do here to keep things simple, right, is anytime somebody enters their username and then their age and they click submit, we want to display whatever they've entered right back to them on the screen. Okay, typically if we're connecting to our database, what we'll do is that we'll pick that information and then we store it in a database or stuff like that, and tell the person sign up successful, something of that sort. Okay, so this is a form. A form has an action attribute, right? The action attribute tells the form that, hey, this is where you should go to process the information on the form, the data that is being submitted on the form. Okay, so the action can be another PHP file or the action can be the same PHP file. Okay, so if we, in this case, we are going to use the same PHP file as the action. Okay, so what we'll do is we can echo server PHP self. Okay, PHP self, sorry. Okay, so what we are saying is that submit the form to the same file. Okay, this is what will be processing the form. Okay, so let's try that and see. Okay, so it's actually submitting to it, and we'll see that in a minute. Okay, now here is the thing. Every form has a method. Okay, so we talked about get and we talked about post. Okay, so get will submit the form. You see the links in the URL, and post also submits the form equally, but you will not see the links in the URL. Okay, so by default the method of the form attribute is get. So by default we have something like this. So if you don't include the method attribute, it defaults to get, but if you want it to be post too, you can just make a method post. Okay, it doesn't have to be all caps, it can be small caps, but I prefer to keep it at big caps. Okay, so let's just say this is get. Okay, for example, let me let's start with this again. Let me just close this. Okay, so now look at what happens in the URL when I click submit. Okay, perfect. So you see that now immediately I click submit, the URL has changed to username is equal to that, is empty, age is equal to that, and then the submit is also equal to that. Okay, so that has changed. Okay, so we are passing these details that have been submitted here to our script. All right, so now let's do something in our PHP. We can say echo dollar get, we have username. Now this key over here is this name value. Okay, so this name value is what helps us to access the data over here that has been entered over here. In fact, so let me just make it $username is equal to that, and $h is equal to get age. All right, okay, perfect. And then I'll say echo let's do this, echo successfully signed up. In fact, let me make this an h1. Okay, or let's say an h4 tag. Okay, so something like this, successfully signed up. Okay, and then I'll echo another thing over here, successfully profile information. Okay, and then I'll say dollar, I'll say username, right, and then I'll say age, that. Okay, so I'll put the h2 over here like this. Okay, so let me just, okay, so we have the semicolon over there. Okay, so let's see what goes on over here when I reload the page. Okay, so look at what is happening over here. I have successfully signed up, which is this that is being echoed over here, and then I have over here, when I try to echo the username and age, I have undefined variable, stuff like that, because I haven't yet submitted the form. Okay, so all that stuff is technically our backend doesn't know about this. Okay, it doesn't know about get username, it doesn't know about get age just yet. Okay, so if I want to make this work, what I can do is that if I actually enter a username, let's say Gilbert, and I enter an age of, let's say, 50, and I submit. Okay, all right, so I think yeah, so sorry, I made a mistake right here. We need to do it like this. Okay, so let's reload that. Okay, so successfully signed up, profile information Gilbert, and then that's my username, and my age that I entered is 50. So if I enter another one, let's say Derek, right, and I say maybe age of 20, and I submit, now this becomes successfully signed up Derek 20. Okay, let's look at what's going on in the URL. So you see, for Derek, I have username is equal to Derek and age is equal to 20, and then submit is, the submit button, when I click it, that also shows up over there. So that is get request, right? So on a normal day, as this information is being sent to the backend, to the PHP script, right, PHP is processing it, this time around I'm just showing successfully signed up, and then the profile information is that. Okay, and on a normal day you probably be sending it to the database or stuff like that, and actually creating accounts for the person. Okay, but we are not going that deep into that. Okay, so let's do something now. You see we have a little issue over here. Let's see if I do this way. Okay, so you see by default when I open up my site, I get these errors. Okay, and these are not errors that I want, and I'm already seeing successfully signed up when the person has not signed up. I'm already seeing profile information when the person has not even signed up. Okay, so we need to fix that and make it such that I only see that information when I click the sign up button. Okay, so we can do something like this. We can simply bring a conditional statement here. So if we can say if a set, okay, so if a set this the username, right, and a set, so this checks to see that there is actually a value for that, and a set age, right, then we can have this here. Okay, so let's reload that and see what goes on there. Okay, so you see now that is gone, right? Or to even keep things simple, instead of using the username and the age, we can simply say submit. Okay, so if this submit is clicked, so we can just remove this, right, and say submit. If it sets get submit. Okay, so let's reload that, and that also works perfectly. So now then this information shows only when we submit the form. So we say Emeka is our username. Okay, sorry, Emeka. What is Emeka? And then we have 23. Okay, so when we submit that, now we have successfully signed up, profile information Emeka. Okay, so we can say John. Okay, and then the age is 29. Okay, and then we submit that, and then we have our successfully signed up, right? But anytime we come to this page for the first time, we have this over here, and then all is good here. We have not submitted the form yet. Okay, so basically this is how get request submitting forms with get requests work. Let's also talk about the post side of things. Okay, but just as a quick recap, okay, we have our form here. In our form we are saying that, hey, when a person clicks submit these details and this information entered here to this particular script, right? And now this script happens to be our 9getPost.php. okay, so it will be submitting the information to this same file. All right, and that's the action. And we are saying that submit it using the get method. So when we say submit using the get method, this information will then be passed through the URL as get request, and then in our script we can pick that information and then do whatever we want with it once the form is submitted, right? So we can do the same thing for post request. So for the post side of things, right, all we have to change is the method here, and then we make it post. Okay, it's that simple. So let's copy this, comment it out, right? And then I will say if it set post submit. Okay, so we change this to also post, right? Post right, and then we'll change this to also post as well. Okay, and then let's come back here and reload our page. Okay, and now let's submit a hello. I know let me use an actual name. Okay, age, let's say 13, right? Submit. Okay, so look at the difference here. You see, for the post we don't have any query string here. All right, we don't have any query string here. It just submitted. It's like an invisible submission, right? Now as a developer, you need to know when to use the post submission and then the get submission, right? Now because get submit information via the browser, via the URL, it's not good to submit get information that has sensitive details like password. Okay, submitting a form that has a password thing, you can't submit a password through the URL. It's not safe. Okay, there are so many security implications to that. In fact, that also means that the password is going to be stored in the browser history of the user. Okay, so or maybe credit card details or stuff like that, it's not advisable to pass them via get request. Okay, but if you have certain information that does not really relate to security or stuff like that, you can always pass them through the get request. Okay, so you just need to be making these decisions on a design per design basis. All right, so we've submitted this form also successfully through the post request, and all we had to do was to change the method over here and then make some adjustment to this. Right, so just like we had if a set get, over here we had if a set post submit, and then we're able to submit our form successfully. Right, so let's have some more fun with this. Okay, let's say if the age, right, if the age is less than 18, okay, we would want to show something else to the user. So if age is less than 18, echo successfully sign up but you are underage, underage, for example, right? And then you can also echo the information here. Else, okay, we can say successfully signed up, right? Okay, so this is me repeating myself, but then just for educational purposes, right? So successfully signed up, but you are the perfect age. Okay, right, so let's save this. Let's reload this. Okay, so normally when you submit a form via post request, okay, and you are trying to reload the page, the post information sometimes is stored in a section of the form. Okay, so the browser will ask you to resubmit it again. Okay, but then we don't want to reload the page, so we instead just do it this way. Okay, so let's say now I enter a username of John, okay, and I enter an age of 20. Okay, so I get successfully signed up, you are the perfect age. Okay, because now the age I entered over here is greater than 20. Okay, but if I entered, let's say Peter, and Peter was 17 years, okay, I'll say successfully signed up but you are underage. Okay, and this is your profile information. All right, so these are, I'm sure at this point you are seeing how things are coming together, with what we are doing. We can even have, let's try using one of the string functions we studied over here. So maybe the username, I can say str to upper, okay, to convert all that into a capital letter. Okay, so let's say hello. Hello is the username. Let's say Godwin, and then 12, submit. Okay, so now you see we converted the submitted Godwin information to uppercase. All right, so at this point I believe you are beginning to see how all the things you are learning so far come together. So we've just done a form submission, we have used globals, we have used a conditional, we have used a string function, a string helper function, and we have used echo, we have used order, and it's already beginning to look really exciting. Okay, so every single thing we've studied before getting to this point is a building block. All right, and form submission is one of the most interesting parts of backend development. Almost everything is some sort of a form. Okay, you are always passing data from the user to the backend each and every single time. Okay, so knowing this is a very valuable thing to do. Okay, so now that we've done this, keep practicing with different values, different forms, different methods. Okay, see how it goes. Okay, and then join me in the next section. Okay, so let's talk about the sanitizing of inputs. Okay, just before that, let me just let's create our new file. Okay, this will be 10 sanitizing inputs.php. Okay, and I am going to copy this right from here in our old file and paste it here. Close this, come here, and then I'll change this to 10 sanitizing inputs.php, right? So sanitizing inputs.php. Okay, so we have the same thing, and then this time around I'm just going to remove this just to keep things simple. Okay, I'm just going to remove this condition over here, right, and then do this. Okay, so there we go. So when you in terms of security, all right, you realize that this form, for example, if I type Gilbert here and I type my age over here, what is happening is that anytime I submit the form, I display whatever information that I have submitted in this form, right? Right on the page. Okay. Normally, after submitting this form, all you can do is that you would store the information in a database and stuff like that. Imagine this was a social media platform. Then what this means is that when I sign up Gilbert and then my age 20, other people can come and look at my profile. They can click on my profile and then it takes them to a page where they see my profile information, probably my name, my age, my location and stuff like that. Okay, but over here we are not checking the security of what the user is submitting. Now, in web applications, hackers and malicious users can pass bad or dangerous stuff through this form input. For example, instead of typing Gilbert here, I can type something like this script. This is a JavaScript file and say maybe alert, say you are crazy, for example, right? And I can just close the script like this and then submit my 20. Okay, so what is happening here? Okay, so I think I have to move. This is sort of modifying the script I've sent. Okay, so let me just make it username like this, right? And then let's try that again. So you are crazy, right? And then my age is 20. Okay, so you see what happens here. Now that script is actually run on my site. You are crazy. Okay, so what will happen is that if a malicious user decides to put this script as a username field and then stores and then submits this, okay, if it happens that you are storing this thing in the database, all right, if it happens you are storing this in the database, it means that anybody that views this person's profile will see you are crazy. Okay, so imagine if you have like thousands or millions of users on your platform, right? And then one person decides to put this particular script in the username field. Anybody that views that profile will get you are crazy script. Anybody that views the profile will get you are crazy. So your platform will just be insulting anybody who enters that site, right? Now I'm using you are crazy here on a lighter note, right? But this is a script tag. This is JavaScript. The person can literally put any type of malicious code over here that can do so much damage on your platform, right? And it's typically known as cross-site request scripting. Okay, so then this is XSS, right? You can read more about that. We are not really going deeper into the security stuff right now. Okay, but you get the idea, right? So what we have to do is that as developers, we need to know how to sanitize the inputs. Okay, you don't have to assume that everything that is being submitted to your form is good information. All right, so over here like this, we can just make this HTML special chars. Okay, this is a function so HTML special characters, right? For example, and we can add that to here for the age as well. Okay, right, and then let's submit that and see what happens here. Okay, so now this just showed the script the person typed as if and they didn't actually run the script. So this is what HTML special chars are. It sanitizes the input. Okay, so this treats it as the text, just like a normal text. So with something like this, the person trying to insert malicious code will just end up feeling silly. All right, because whatever code you are writing is just going to show in your profile script, alert, you are crazy and all that stuff. And this is what we want. Okay, so the JavaScript is not actually being executed. We are not actually seeing the alert. Okay, so we are just treating this as any other text. Okay, that is one thing PHP does for you. Okay, there's a more modern way of doing this as well. We can use filter inputs, right? And then we can have input posts. Okay, so if you are submitting the data through get, we make it input get. All right, and then this one, instead of the post username, we can just do something like this, username. Okay, and then we can add this sanitizing rule. Okay, there's a whole lot of sanitizing rule. Okay, so you see we have filter sanitize add slashes, filter sanitize email. There's a whole lot of sanitizing rules you can use. Okay, so I'm just going to use filter sanitize special charts, which is this one. Okay, sort of similar to the HTML special charts, right? And then let's reload this and submit the form again. Okay, so we get the same thing. All right, and you have to do this for all your inputs that you are receiving from your users. Okay, so it's very, very important. Don't forget this. If you forget this, this is like leaving your platform to being hacked. Okay, now as you get when we actually tackle inserting data into a database in a later course, we talk about how to make sure that you can avoid incidences like SQL injection and all that, where people can manually alter your database or delete your database or stuff like that. Okay, but in the meantime, do keep this in mind. Sanitizing of inputs. Anytime you are dealing with forms, always consider that somebody can be very mean. We can have a very wicked or bad person trying to do something crazy on your site. Okay, so always validate whatever is being submitted before processing it or doing whatever you want with it. All right, so this has been sanitizing input. So let's go on to the next one. All right, so let's talk about cookies. Right, cookies in PHP a cookie is simply a small file with like a maximum size of 4 kilobytes. Right, it's something that is a file that the server stores on the client's computer. That's like your browser, right, or like on your computer. It's usually used to track like preferences, like your options. And using cookies, your web application can sort of customize different views and stuff like that for whoever is using your app. Okay, so sometimes you visit some sites and they say allow cookies on this site and all that stuff. Basically, what they're asking you is that, hey, give us the opportunity to track some of your preferences, okay, so that when you come back on the platform next time, we can be able to recommend things that you are interested in, right? So basically, that is cookies, right? So how we set cookies is simple, right? We have the set cookie function in PHP, right, which sets the key of the cookie. So like, let's say your name, okay, and then make it like Gilbert over here, right? And then I'll say now we need to set, cookies have expiries. Okay, so we'll say that this should expire in so the current time plus 86,400. Okay, so this should expire in a day. Okay, 86,400 seconds. Okay, that's 1 day. So current time plus 1 day. All right, and then I'll say if is set, okay, dollar cookie. So this is the cookie Superglobal. Okay, and then the name, the key of the cookie, which is name. Okay, then I'll say echo that. All right, so let me just copy this and then paste that here. Okay, and then let's reload the page and see. Okay, so you see on the first time I haven't yet set the cookie, right? But on the second time now I see Gilbert. Okay, so on the first time I've set it, once I reload I see the cookie then. Right now let's destroy this cookie. So if you want to destroy the cookie, all that you have to do is to do this set cookie, right? And then name. Okay, that's the key of the cookie. Now you set the value to empty, and then you set the time to a time that is past. Okay, so I'll say 86,400. So I say today, right now, minus 1 day. Okay, so it sort of sets it backwards, which means it's expired. Okay, so let's reload the page and let's reload again. Okay, so now the cookie is gone. We don't have the cookie anymore. All right, if we come here and try to bring this here, if it's set, okay, there's nothing there because we've expired it. Okay, now let's make this a bit more practical. Right now we know how to set cookies, we know how to delete cookies, but let's make this a bit more practical. Right, so let me remove this and let's say we have a form. Okay, an HTML form. Okay, so let's say we have a form here, right, and action is echo $server, right, and then we have PHP, sorry, I don't know why I always mix this up, PHP self. Okay, and then we have that here. We'll close this like this way, yeah, like this. And then we have a label, let's see what type of mails do you no what type of let's say what is your favorite color? What is your favorite color? Let's just keep it simple. What is your favorite color? Okay, and then we allow the user to sort of enter their favorite color, you know. So let's see. Oh, sorry. This is supposed to be this way. Input type text. Okay, and then we say name is equal to fav color. Okay, and then we'll have the input type submit. Okay, value is equal to submit, and then name is equal to submit, you know, just like we did for the last time, right? And then we'll make the action of the form post. Okay, the method of the form post, right? So let's reload that and see what we have here. Okay, so what's your favorite color? So we have a platform that sort of tries to study the favorite colors of people, or probably you are even you are picking it without even the user knowing, you know, something like that. Okay, as long as the user has given you permission to do so. All right, so now what we want to do is that we want to keep the favorite color in the browser. Okay, this preference in the browser, so that when the user comes the next time, we'll be able to use that to suggest to them something. Okay, something that they will like. All right, so let's say if a set $post, right, submit. Okay, so what we want to do is that we want to get the value of the favorite color, okay, that the user has entered, right? I'm not sanitizing this here right now because it's just for educational purposes, right? So favorite color, right? We are going to get that value, and then we are going to set a cookie with that value. Okay, so set cookie, and then we'll make it fav color cookie, or let me just make it fav color, right? And then we'll set the value to what has been sent, right, over here, and we'll set the time to time plus 86400. Okay, so like we have here. So this is what we are doing. So we are storing the person's preference so that when they come next time, we'll be able to, you know, echo something to them. So over here we can say so let me just make this fav color, right? And then we can say something like, based on your favorite color of that, right, we think you may like these type of shit. Okay, so yeah, so let's try that, and we have to change this to fav color right here. Okay, right, so if it says that, okay, so here we go. So let's reload this. Right now, in the beginning, that is not set, the favorite color is not set, but let's type here red, and then I submit. Okay, so I've submitted, the cookie has been created, right? So let's just say I navigate away from this page, you know, browse, do some things, and I come back to the site sometime back. Okay, so let's open the site sometime back, and I come here. You see, so now because of the cookie, I was able to remember what the person you know, selected the first time. So I was like, based on your favorite color of red, we think you may like this type of shirt. Okay, so you see, the cookie remembered what I chose the last time. Okay, if it happens that I change it again to, let's say, green, and I submit it, right, now what will happen is that the next time I come here, right, so let me close this, open this again in another browser. Okay, so based on your favorite color of green, we think you might like this type of share. Okay, so this is what cookies are doing, and you can even view it. So we go to settings, you go to developer tools, right, then you go to application, right, you can find it right here. So you see over here we have cookies and we have localhost. Okay, so you realize that I have a ton of cookies over here. So if you go through it, we'll see like the favorite color inside somewhere. Okay, this is it. Okay, so we have the favorite color cookie right here. So it's stored right, you know, on the user's computer. Okay, so this is cookies. This is how they work. They are really powerful. Okay, but it's not advisable to store things like passwords and stuff like that in cookies. No, don't do that. Okay, yeah, you only store things that are not security sensitive, things that are just like you probably want to use it for customization or maybe recommending certain things to the users. Okay, so these are cookies and these are how they work. So let's talk about the next thing, which is sessions. Okay, so let's talk about sessions, right? So sessions also store information that you can use across multiple pages on your platform, right? But one of the key differences between sessions and cookies is that sessions are stored on the server, right? So on your Apache server or whatever server it is, they are not stored on the user's computer. All right. So we are going to create a simple login sort of something, okay, just to show you how sessions are actually really used in real life. Okay, so let's create our login form, right? Let's create a simple login form right here. Okay, so form, right, and then we say label. Okay, so label, we say username, right, and then we say input text. Okay, we say the name is the name is username, right, and then we say label password, right, and we say input type password, right, and we say name is equal to password. Okay, then we'll have our input type submit, name is equal to submit, and then value is equal to submit. All right, so let's reload this and see. Okay, so we have our login form, right? Let's just to make it a bit nicer, let's just add an h3 tag here and say login to your account. Okay, let's reload that. Okay, so we have our login form over here. So we add our action, which is as we know it, we are trying to submit to the same script, right? So action $server PHP self. Okay, we have that right here. Okay, we close that and we'll use the method of post. Okay, we know we are dealing with some password stuff, so we don't want to pass that through our URL. Okay, so let's submit that and see. Okay, so that is submitting to itself, so currently that is working, right? So let's process this login form. Okay, so if it's set, okay, if it's set, post, right, submit. Okay, right, we will put the username in a variable. Okay, and let's just do HTML special class. Okay, and then we say post username. Okay, and then let's also store the password. Okay, password is equal to $post password. Okay, so normally what you do at this point is you query your database, you check your database. Hey, database, is there any user with the username of this and a password of this? Okay, that's what you normally do, right? But because we do not have any database link yet, we will do some sort of manual checks. Okay, so we'll say if username is equal to Gilbert, right, and password is equal to it's equal to 1 2 3 4 5, right? So if username is equal to that end, so if these two conditions are satisfied, right, we'll say let's for now just say login successful. Okay, just for testing purposes, right? Else, right, we'll just say echo illegal login attempt. Okay, right, perfect. So let's try this and see what we have. Okay, so let's reload that. So we say username is Gilbert, and then password is 1 2 3 4 5. Okay, so we submit that. So login successful, right? If you use username Gil and password 1 2 3 4, let's say password 1 2 3 4 5, we say illegal login attempt, right? Or if we use username Gilbert and password 123, right, we also get an illegal login attempt over there. All right, so the basic logic behind our login is working pretty well. All right, so now what we'll do now is we will have to now, if the login is successful, that is if username is Gilbert and password is 12345, what we want to do is we want to store, let's say, the username in a session, right? We don't want to store it in a cookie, we want to store it in something more secure. So we say session username is equal to $username. All right, and in real life, what we will do is, let me just reload this. What we will do is we will redirect the user to maybe their dashboard or their profile page or something like that, right? And in PHP, how you usually redirect people to their another portion of the platform is this function, the header function, location, right, and colon, right? And then that is the slash is the root folder, right? I have PHP underscore lessons, okay? And then I'll create a folder called dashboard, okay? And in that folder, I'll call my dashboard file dashboard.php. All right, so let's put that here. Okay, so basically I'm saying that if the login is correct, okay, if the username is Gilbert, the password is this, put the username in a session and then redirect the user to their dashboard. Okay, I don't have these files yet, I'm going to create it shortly, right? And one thing you have to remember, that anytime you need to use the session superglobal, you need to include this function called session start, right? So session start, okay, that is very important for using the session superglobal, right? On any page that you be using this particular session variable, okay, it's very key, right? So let's go create this file, right? So in that file, I have so let me create that folder. Okay, I call the folder dashboard, right? And in that folder, I'm going to create a file, dashboard.php. Okay, so that is my file over there. Okay, so the dashboard.php file. So I'll bring session start over here like how we did for the first page. Okay, and then I'll say something like if is set, right, session username. Okay, so if there's actually and what you have to remember is that this is only set when the person logs in correctly. So automatically this will not be there if the person hasn't logged in. All right, so that is something you'd have to really remember. Okay, so if a set session, this thing will say welcome to your profile. Let me just collapse this for a minute. Welcome to your profile. Okay, then maybe we can append the name of the user over there. So welcome to your profile Gilbert, welcome to your profile, whatever name is there. All right, and then we can show that over there. In fact, we can put this in an H1, or let's say an H4, okay, just to make it look a bit good. So let's wrap that up in an H4. Okay, I think there's a typo here. Okay, perfect. Okay, so this is what we have here, right? So now let's try our code and see what we have now. Okay, so I'm going to reload this. Okay, and I'm going to do username Gilbert, right, and then password 12345, and then submit. Okay, so now over here we have welcome to your profile Gilbert. You get the idea. Now if this session wasn't there, let's quickly see what would have happened if we didn't have a correct login, and then we try to access the dashboard without having the correct session, right? Okay, so to do that, let's create something here called like, let's say, a logout. Okay, let's create a logout. So we can create, let's say, an href, right? We'll say this can go to let me just put logout right here. Okay, and then we'll say this can go to PHP lessons, right? We can say Now, let's say we can put that in the dashboard and we can say logout.php. All right, let's reload this page and see. Okay, so, unexpected. Okay, so I forgot the semicolon right here. Okay, so logout. I think we will need this on another line. Okay, so let's reload that. Okay, so we have the logout here, right? So what we want to do is that when the person decides to log out, we want to take the person back to the login page, all right, and then destroy the session. Okay, so let's create our logout file. So I'll create a logout.php here. Okay, and then I'll do my session start. Okay, so this is how we destroy a session with this function, session destroy. Okay, so this destroys all the sessions, any session that you have set on the server for the particular user. It destroys the sessions available, right? So we can say header. Okay, so destroy the session and then redirect the user back to what's our login page called? I think it's PHP lessons, right? And then we have 12 sessions.php. You know, that is what we use for our redirect. Okay, that's what we use for our login page. Okay, so let's reload this and then let's click logout. Okay, so now we are back here on our username. Okay, now what happens when we go to we try to go to the dashboard when we haven't logged in? Okay, so over here, let me just click localhost, right? PHP lessons, and then we'll say PHP lessons dashboard, right, /dashboard.php. That's what we have there. Okay, so nothing is showing over here. So let's put an else statement, and then instead of this h4, okay, well, I think I made a typo here. Okay, this is fucked up, man. Okay, so h4, this thing is such a pain. Okay, all right, so we will say this echo. Okay, so when the person is not logged in, what we would say is that something like probably you do not have access to this page, right? Please log into your account first. Okay, so let's reload that. Okay, so you don't have access to this page, please log into your account first. Now the person is not logged in, so we cannot show a logout, right? So what we'll do is we'll show a login link instead, right? And then we'll redirect the person to our sessions file, our sessions page where the login is, right? So login. So it takes you back to there. So we've implemented a simple login, right? So let me just quickly recap what we are doing. On this page, right, we are checking the username and password to make sure that it's correct. Okay, if it fits Gilbert and then the password is also 12345, we create a new session with the username of the user, in this case, which is Gilbert, and then we redirect the user to the dashboard, right, using this function location PHP lessons dashboard.php, right? That is where our dashboard file is. Now on our dashboard file, we are running some checks over here to make sure that that session variable is set. Okay, because that session variable is set only when the person successfully logs in. So automatically, if we check for the session variable and it is not there, then we know that the person is not logged in, right? So if the session variable is set, we show the user welcome to your profile user, and then we show a logout link. Else we show the user that you do not have access to the page, and then you have to log in first, right? Now when they click the logout link, right, the logout takes them to another page called the logout.php. On this page we destroy the session and then redirect the user back to the login using the header function, right? So this is a very simplified login, right? Like I said, in a real world scenario, you check from the database to make sure that these conditions are met before moving on. Okay, so that has been sessions. This is how you use sessions to implement stuff like that in PHP. Okay, so we are going to create a new file right over here. We'll name it this is, I think, 13, right? So we'll name it file handling, right, .php. Okay, So we are going to learn. I don't want this right here. I want it outside my file. Okay, outside. Okay, so file handling. There we go. And I'm going to close this, close that too as well. Okay, and then I'm going to start. Let me close dashboard.php. Let me close logout.php. Right, so that we are left with just file handling. Okay, so I'll create this PHP. Okay, so basically PHP allows you to read and access files on your server. Okay, like text files and stuff like that with various type of information. Okay, so let's say we create a new file here. Okay, say let's call it colors.txt. Okay, right, so colors.txt is a file. Now in this file we have something like red, green, yellow. Okay, so we've created that file in our folder colors.txt, and we want to read the contents of the file onto our website. Okay, so over here I think I'll just make this file handling. Let's change this to file handling. What's it? 13. Okay, file handling. Sorry, handling.php. Okay, right. So we have our empty slate. Okay, so first of all, I need to put the file that I want to sort of read over here, right? So the file is in the file over here is in the same directory as the file handling.php, right? So all I have to do is say colors.txt. Okay, so that's the file, right? And before you open a file or to read the content, you first have to check whether the file is actually available before doing that. So we use the PHP function called file exists, right? So if the file exists, this file, okay, what we do is that we open a handle for it. Okay, so f open, right? This is the function for opening a file, and then we are opening it in a read mode. Okay, so there are various types of modes that you can open a file in. So this is like read only. You can open a file in read and write and whatever it is. Okay, we are going to open it in read only mode, right? You can read more on this function, which is f open. There's a whole lot you can do with it. All right, and I can get the let me close this, right? So how do we get the contents of the file? I can say contents is equal to f read. Okay, and then the handle that we just created, right? And then the file size of the file. Okay, and then I can close this right here, right? And then I can say f close. Okay, so it's always best practice to close a file after you open it. Okay, always best practice to do that. And I'll say echo the content. All right. Okay, so this is supposed to be a comma, sorry. All right, so echo content. So let's reload the page and see what we have, right? Okay, so we're able to read the content of our file, which is colors.txt, which is red, green, yellow, and we're able to do it here, right? Now, what if the file doesn't exist, right? And we want to sort of, create the file and then put this stuff in there, right? So what we can, so let's delete this colors.txt. We can even do something like echo file does not exist. Okay, just to start with. Now let's reload this page. Okay, so file does not exist, right? So if the file does not exist, let's say we want to create the file. Okay, so we say f open, right? $file. Okay, and then this time around we make the mode right. Okay, so this opens a new file if it doesn't exist. Okay, and the contents that we want to put there, we can say red, pink, white. Okay, this is what we want to write in the file. Okay, and then we can say f write, and we say handle, and then we write the contents over there. Then once you are done with that, we f close. Okay, f close handle. Okay, so let's reload the page. Okay, sorry. Okay, so red, pink, white, right? So once we reloaded, the file was created. Okay, it was created at first, and then once we reloaded again, now this particular function kicked in, because now the file existed, and then it read the contents of the file and then displayed it to us. So there's more to file handling. There's a whole lot more you can do, but this is the basics of dealing with files in PHP. All right. Okay, so let's talk about file uploads. Right, so file uploads in PHP are a really important feature, and in any backend development as well, right? So as a backend developer, whatever language you are using, you need to know how to, upload files to your server, right? So example, you are building an application where people can upload their profile photo, for example. That profile photo needs to be stored somewhere on your server so that later you can view it. Right, let's say it's a job application platform where people need to upload their CVs and stuff like that. You need to be able to take those files that they select and then upload the CVs onto your server and then view it later. All right, so let's start by creating a upload file upload form. Okay, so simple form action, right? The usual echo $server, right? And then we'll say PHP self, right? Okay. I mean, we could be using another script, right? Instead of this. Oh, sorry. Yeah. I think this one, I always get it twisted. Form action PHP self. Where are we? Yeah, right. Sometimes this can get really confusing, the codes and stuff like that. Okay, so this is our form. We would add a simple input type, right, of file. Okay, so this allows users to choose a file. Okay, we'll say upload. Okay, we'll give you a name of upload, right? Let's get this together. Okay, and then we'd have our inputs, right? Input type submit, right? Value is equal to submit, and then name is also equal to submit, right? Then we'll say maybe, label. We say choose a profile photo. Okay, so let's reload this. Okay, so we have this right here with a file. Now let's make this uploaded file. Okay, let's give it a name uploaded file. Let's give the submit some small styles, just to make it look. Let's space this out a little. So let's say 10 pixels here, right? And then let's say background color of yellow, right? Just to make our submit look a bit different. Yeah, so choose a profile photo, sorry, and then you choose the file, you click, and that opens the window, right? It gives us a window for us to choose whatever file we want to upload. Okay, so now time to add a few things, right? So the form needs, like we said, we need to give it a method of post, right? Okay. And we need to add another attribute called the encoding type, right? And we add this multi-part, right, /form data. Okay, so this is an attribute that you add to your form anytime there will be a file inside a form. Okay, so usually it's easy to forget this, but always remember to add this encoding type multi-part form data. Okay, it's very important. Okay, so now we can go to our PHP, and start processing our stuff, right? So I'll open our PHP tags here, right? Close it right here. Okay, so we'll say if the submit button is clicked, right? If it says post submit, right? Let's just echo submitted. Okay. Usually I love to do this to make sure that each stage of the code is sort of working properly. Okay, so let's try that. Okay, so submitted, we are good to go. Okay, so let's remove that. Okay, so what we want to do is that if the submit button is clicked, right, we want to make sure that the person has actually chosen a file. Okay, so that we don't want to upload an empty something, right? That will give us error. So we want to make sure that the person has actually selected a file, right? So we do this if not empty, okay, $files. So this is the super global for handling files, right? And then we say if not empty $files uploaded file, okay, which is the name of our input over here, right? Uploaded file, and then name. I'll explain what this means very soon, right? Echo file chosen, right? Else echo no file chosen, right? So let's test that first, and then I'll explain what is going on here. So this is what we have. So no file chosen, right? And then let's choose any random file over here and say file chosen. Okay, so we're able to detect when a file has been chosen or not. So what's going on here? Over here, I'm going to echo this. I'm going to print out this file super global so that we see what's going on over there. Okay, so print r, and then we'll print out files, okay, and see what's happening there. Okay, so let me just choose a random file, right? And then so you see this uploaded file is an associative array. Okay, it has some values and properties. Okay, so over here we see uploaded file, and in the array we have another array. Okay, so it's like a 2D array. So you see we have the name key, which is intro to php.ppts, right? We have type, which is application / blah 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 / just / office document. We have the TMP name, that's the temporary name, which is over here. We have the error. So there are some properties of the files that PHP gives us that we are able to work with. Okay, so over here we are saying that if this name, right, if this name key is not empty, meaning anytime a file is actually selected, this will have a value. Okay, every file will have a name. So if there's nothing like that, then it means there was no file that was chosen. Okay, so this is the logic that we are using here. All right, so let me just style this up a little. Let's get this away. So let's just, give this some nice styles, right? Let's make it style is equal to color of red. Okay, right, and then let's try that again. So submit. So no file chosen. All right, so this is what we are doing over here. Okay, so now that we understand what is going on here, let's go on to processing the file, right? So there are a number of properties that we need. Okay, so we say the file name is equal to, so we need this, right? This is the file's name. Okay, so this will give us the name, right? We need the size of the file, right? We can get the size of, so if the size is, so let's say you want to restrict the upload size to, let's say 2 megabytes or 3 megabytes. So if your profile photo size is more than a certain size, right, how do you restrict that? Okay, so we need to get the file size over, and for that we need a key size. Okay, so this gives us the size in bytes. All right, and then we have the file temporary file. Okay, so this is like a temporary file. Okay, before the file is uploaded, it's stored somewhere temporarily. Okay, so we have uploaded file, right, and then we have the TMP name. Okay, so this gives us a temporary something. Okay, and then what we add next is the the destination of where we want to upload the file to. Okay, so I'll call it target directory. Okay, target dir, right? We'll make it uploads. Okay, so this will be the folder that we'll create. Okay, and then the file name. Okay, so we want to upload it using the name of the file, right? Okay, so there we go. Okay, so quickly let me just create the uploads folder. All right, so I'll create it right here. Okay, so I'll name this uploads. Okay, so we have oh sorry, I created a file instead, right? It's a new directory. Okay, so uploads. Okay, so any file we upload will be stored in this directory for us to view. Okay, so that's the target directory we've added over here, right? Now there's another thing. Let's say we want to make sure that, let's say it's a profile photo. No, okay, we are trying to get people to upload their profile photos. But how do you stop somebody from uploading a document instead of a photo? Okay, that will just mess up with your entire system. So you want to make sure that you are restricting the file that is being uploaded to the correct type. Okay, so first of all, what we can do is we can get the extension of the file. We can get a file extension. All right, so what we do is that, the file name is made up of the name of the file and then the extension. So if this file is a ppt file, we'll have maybe intro.this.pptx. If it's a photo, we'll have something like profile photo.jpg or png or stuff like that. Okay, so what we have to do is we need to get the extension of the file and then compare it to a set of files, a set of extensions that we allow. Okay, so how do we get the file extension? If we have a file like this, let's say this is the name of the file being uploaded, profile photo.jpg. Let's just say this is the name of the file being uploaded. To get the extension, okay, I'll say file ext. Okay, file ext, we say explode. Right, so explode is a PHP function that helps you to sort of convert a string into an array. Okay, so we are saying explode this string using in the middle using the dot. Okay, so the left part of the dot will be the first item in the array, and then the last part of the dot will be the second part of the second item in the array. Okay, so we say $file name. Okay, all right, so this is what we have. So let's just echo. No, let's just print our $file ext. Okay, let's just see how that looks like. Okay, so I'm going to choose a file here. Okay, now click here and I'll submit. Okay, so you see we have an array, and then the first part is intro.php, and then the second part is pptx. Okay, which is the extension that we want to work with. Okay, so now we see what this is doing over here. All right, so how do we select this one? Okay, how do we select the second item, which is the extension? All right, so what we do is we say we can overwrite this again. Ext is equal to str2 lower. Okay, so we want to make sure that if the extension happens to be capital pptx, right, it will still convert it back to small letters so that we can really compare, right? So str2 lower. Okay, and then end, okay, of the $file ext. So what we are just trying to say is that, hey, pick the last item on this array. Okay, so we'll just choose txt file. So let's echo file ext and see what we have. Right, so let me choose a file, this. Okay, all right, and let's submit. Okay, so we see we get pptx. So we are successfully now getting the extension, right? Okay, so now we need to compare this extension to a set of extensions that we allow. Okay, so what we do is we can create an array here, allowed extensions, right? And we'll say maybe for profile photos you only allow jpg, png, right? And we allow jpeg. Okay, and then we allow, let's say, gif. Okay, if you allow that as well, you can put that here. All right, so we can use if in array. Okay, if in array $file ext. So if this extension is in the allowed ext, okay, so then it means it's a valid file. Okay, if in array, we can say echo valid file, right? Else we can say echo invalid file. All right, so let's quickly try that out. Okay, so if I choose this ppt now, okay, and I upload it, okay, we have invalid file because pptx is not a part of our allowed files. All right, so let's download this, any image, let's say profile photo. let's just Google profile photo images, right? And then, you know, let's just maybe keep, you know, save this on our desktop, you know, just to try that out and see for a minute. So this is called we'll name this photo.jpg. all right, photo.jpg. okay, so we'll save this photo on our desktop, right? Can close that. Okay, so this time around, let's choose that file instead. Okay, so photo.jpg. okay, and then we will say submit. Okay, so okay, so we have like okay, so over here we made gph instead of gpg, right? So that's why the gpg file was not found. Okay, so let's try that again. So we choose a file, photo, right? And then we submit. Okay, so we get valid file. Okay, so as long as the extension is legit and is in our allowed arrays, okay, we get a valid file. And this can be for any other document. So if it's just a PDF file that you want to make sure that is there, then you can you can also confirm that as well. All right, so yeah, so invalid file, let's style this up a little. Okay, so let's give this a style color red. Okay, and then let's make this P. Okay, all right, and then let's try this one more time, right? So choose file. This time around, let's choose our ppt file, see what happens. Okay, so invalid file. Okay, all right, so this is the progress that we've made with our file validation. All right, now the next thing we can do is we said we would want to check the file size as well, okay, to make sure that you know, the file is not too big. Okay, so let's say in this scenario, we want to make sure that the profile photo is not more than 1 megabyte, okay, which is 1 million bytes. All right, so let's check the size of our uploaded photo. This photo, what's the size here? Okay, this is 3.54 kilobytes, so this should work. All right, so we perform another check here. Okay, another check here, right? If it's in an array. Okay, so if file size, okay, is less or equal to 1 million, okay, is that 6 zeros? Okay, yeah, so I mean 1 megabytes, right? So 1 million byte, that's 1 megabyte, right? If it is so, sorry, we need to get this here instead. Okay, let me just put this comment here instead. Okay, so if file size is that, okay, we can see echo correct file size, right? Else we can see echo file size is too large. All right, okay, so let's just try this one more time and see. Okay, so let's choose photo, desktop photo. Okay, and then let's submit it. Okay, so correct file size, right? So the file size is actually lesser than what we are expecting, right? So the same way, if you try with a file size that is very big, like over a 1 megabyte file, you get incorrect file size. Okay, so let's style this too as well, you know, just to make our simple application look, you know, pretty good. Okay, so at this point, right, at this point, the file that is being uploaded has checked all the boxes. Okay, there was a file that was selected, okay, which is here. Now the type of the file too was correct, which is here, and also the size of the file too, you know, was legitimate. Okay, so at this point you are ready to upload our file, right? So what we can say now is move. So this is a PHP function, right? Move uploaded file, right? And we say file tmp, right? So that's a temporary file, which is this over here. Okay, and then we'll move it to the target, you know, the target dir, the one that we created. Okay, sorry, target dir right here. Okay, so over here, that's the uploads, and then we use the name of the file. Okay, so target dir, and then from here we can actually say, let me just do this. Okay, so green file uploaded successfully. I would say great job. Okay, all right, so let's refresh this. Okay, and then let's now choose our profile photo again, see whether it gets uploaded into our directory. Okay, so choose file, photo. Okay, and then I'll choose the photo and I click submit. Okay, so file uploaded successfully, great job. So let's go check our uploads folder and see whether it's there. So I go to htdocs php lessons uploads, and there we have it. We have our file right there. Okay, so this is PHP file uploads. Okay, there are so many validations you can go ahead and do with your file. There are so many manipulations as well that you can go ahead and do with your file. It all depends on the application you are building and what your needs and requirements are. Okay, so this is a simple upload code. I hope you practice it as much as you can, as much as possible. Try to go back to what we've done, see whether you understand what the file global is doing, what kind of array is it, how we validated it. Try to see whether you can validate other types of files as well and see how it goes. Okay, so in this section we are going to tackle exceptions, right? So what are exceptions, right? So I have done a simple Google search of what an exception in programming is, right? So an exception in programming is an unplanned event such as invalid input or a loss of connectivity that occurs while a program is executing and disrupts the flow of its instruction, right? So exception is a short way of saying exceptional event, right? So like we said, it's an unplanned event, like an invalid input or something. So what you would see as you develop applications is that there are times that the user may input something or something may happen as your program is executing that you least expected. For example, you write a simple program to divide, do some division and all that stuff, and somebody enters 0. Okay, and let's say instead of 1 divided by a certain number, the person enters 0, so you have 1 divided by 0. Okay, that is like a division error. Okay, or let's say you are fetching some stuff from the database and the network just goes off. Okay, so the program is just left hanging midway, right? How do you handle such events? Okay, so that is what we call exceptions, right? So we are going to do something very simple here. Okay, so let's create a PHP function, right? We'll call it division. Let's say divide me. Okay, let's call it divide me. Now divide me takes a value over here, right? Okay, and then we'll say return 1 divided by the number. Okay, that is what divide me does. Okay, and then we can say echo. So let's try out this function. Okay, so we can say divide me. Okay, and then we pass, let's say 20. Okay, so let's refresh the page and see. Okay, so we have 0.05, right? If you pass in, let's say 10, okay, we have 0.1. Okay, what happens when we pass in 0? Okay, we see we get fatal error, uncaused division by 0. Division by 0. So this is an exception, right? And this is something during normal development, it may not occur to you that, hey, somebody could actually enter 0 as the input. In that case, what do I do? How do I handle this, right? Now, if it happens that you have other codes over here, so let's say we have done executing. Okay, if you have other codes here, you realize that that code did not run. Okay, so immediately the exception pops up. Every other code just stops. Okay, now it doesn't go on again, right? And it's probably something that you may not want. Okay, so how do we handle this error, okay, smoothly? And also, it's not nice to show this to your client. Okay, your client enters something and they see all this technical stuff, they don't even know what's going on. And to add it, hackers can use this as an opportunity to know that, to know what's going on your server, your directory structure and stuff like that. Okay, so what we can do is, this is when try and catch blocks in PHP are used. Okay, so try, okay, catch, right? So catch takes an exception. Okay, and we haven't done object-oriented PHP yet. Okay, but basically what we are doing is, this is an exception class. Okay, and we are instantiating a new exception object. Okay, don't worry if you don't understand this very clearly. So we'll put this echo divide me in a try catch block. Okay, then try. So we are saying, hey, run this code, right, in a try block, test it. If it works, that's fine, but if there's any exception, show a nicer message. Okay, so we can say echo there was an error with your input. Okay, something like this looks a bit cleaner. Okay, so let's try that again. I save that. Okay, so over here, let's do this. If not x, okay, so that is if we do not have a valid value of x, we say throw new exception, right? Throw new exception, and then we can pass a division by 0. Okay, we can do that. Else return the right value. Okay, so what will happen here is that if we pass in an invalid value, this exception will be manually thrown. Okay, once this exception is thrown, we can catch it and then we can display the appropriate message. Okay, so let's reload that. Okay, so we got there was an error with your input, done executing. Okay, this actually ran. Okay, so this is how exceptions work, right? If we didn't have this function, for example, and we just had something like $x, let's say $x is equal to 1 divided by 0, okay, we'll still be able to catch the error. Okay, so you realize that what is happening here is that we're still saying uncut division by 0 error. Okay, so we are not dealing with it properly. Okay, in the old example, we're throwing an exception manually. Okay, so we're able to catch the exception over here. But this case, we are saying division by 0 error. So what is being thrown over here is not an error, but it's not an exception, but it's an error. Okay, so instead of exception here, we can make that error. Okay, we can make that error. Okay, and then let's reload that. Okay, so we see there's an error with your input. Okay, so this is exception handling in PHP. All right, so let's go on to the next section. Okay, so we are going to talk about how you can include pages, other pages into a single page. All right, so let's say on your website you have this navigation bar that is available on every page, or you have this logo that is available on every page. You don't want to sort of manually copy and paste all the HTML code on each and every single of your pages. So you can put that navigation bar in a single PHP file and then include that file across your entire website. Okay, so we'll just play around with that quickly. All right, I'll create a new folder here. I'll name it, let's say, my website. All right, and in my website, I'll create a new file, say index.php, right? And then I'll create another file, let's say about.php, and maybe I'll create another file. I'll name it contact.php. all right, perfect. So let me just put an h1 tag over here. Okay, let me make this contact. All right, and then let me make this about. Okay, and then let me make this will definitely be the home page. All right, okay, so let's go to PHP lessons, and then we'll have my website. Okay, and then we'll have /index.php. Okay, so we have the home page, and we have the same way we have the about and the contact aspect. So I'll just, for the sake of this, for the tutorial, I'll just do about.php. I'll just duplicate everything manually, and then I'll do contact.php. Okay, so we have 3 pages of our website: home page, contact, and about. Right, now let's just say we have this navigation. So I'm going to go to the Bootstrap side. Okay, and then I'm going to get the Bootstrap navigation. Okay, so let's go to the docs, right? See whether we can get the navigation somewhere here. So navbar. Okay, so I will just copy this, just for the sake of if I just remember we've not included Bootstrap in our page, right? But then let's just, for the sake of tutorial purposes, right, let's just assume we have a navigation, but let's see how that looks. Okay, Okay, on the home page. Okay, so this is our navigation bar. All right, so let me just it looks really nasty because it's not start, right? But let's just say this is our navigation bar on our home page, right? And we need the navigation bar, the same navigation bar on the about page, right? And then we need the same navigation bar on the contact page as well, right? So over here the navigation bar is here, and over here the navigation bar is here as well. Now with something like this, if we are to change any link inside, we have to visit each of our sites, of our pages one by one, and then manually change it here. You come to about, you change it, you come to contact, you change it. This is very, very inefficient. Okay, and if you have a very big web application, this can be very problematic, right? If you forget any of them, then you are screwed, right? So how can we use PHP to make our lives easier, right? So what we can do is we can create another file. Let's say we can call that file nav.php. Okay, nav.php, right? And then we can copy our navigation, can cut this one, open our nav.php, and then paste it right there. Okay, and then what we can do now is we can include that nav.php in all our pages. So over here we can say include nav.php. all right, okay, so there we go. All right, include now. So let's reload the home page and see what we have. Okay, so you realize that it's still there, right? So simply all we can do now is just to copy this, paste it in this is the about page, right? So I'll just paste it here. Okay, and this is the contact page. I'll just paste it here as well. Okay, so we come to about, we have the navigation there, we come to the contact page, we have a navigation page there as well, right? So we've copied our navigation bar code into a single file over here, right? And then we are including that file in all our pages, right? So meaning if we have to make any changes, we can just go to our nav.php. Maybe we can change this to navbar new, okay, for example. And once we do that, navbar new is reflected on all the pages, right? And we do not have to go through it one by one. So this makes it very easy to keep your code clean, and then your your design and everything very manageable, right? Now we can also use require. Okay, so for require, if you use require and then the the file is not found, this is what happens. Okay, you get this error message and nothing shows up. But if you use include, okay, and the file is not there, okay, realize that our home page is still showing. Okay, the code is still running. Okay, so include sort of allows the rest of the page to run, but require, if that file is not found, okay, your entire page breaks. Okay, so it's really about what you need, okay, the functionality you need there. Right, so this is including other pages. Using this, you can create another folder in your application, and then where you can store all the files you are including. It may not be just your navigation, probably your footer or some elements or some specific CSS file that you are using across all your pages. Okay, so this is really helpful this way. Congratulations if you've gotten this far, right? You've learned a lot in this course, right? So you've gotten here, then you've done great. This is the end of the PHP crash course. All right, there are so many other concepts there, like OOP, which we didn't tackle because I wanted to keep everything very simple. All right, so feel free to refer to this video at any point in time. Okay, keep practicing every single thing that we have learned here, because without practicing, like I say, you are not going far. All right, so practice everything we've learned here. Watch other video tutorials as well. Try out new projects and stuff like that, and I believe that is definitely going to help you. So thank you once again for watching this video and staying put up to the end of it. So once again, before you go, if you haven't subscribed to the channel, please do want to subscribe to our channel and show your support for us. Hit the notification bell so that anytime we drop a new video, you'll be easily alerted on it, so that you don't miss anything on the channel. Thank you very much.